And we should be live. Hello, everyone. We should be live. Please let us know if you can hear us properly. Hello,
Yes.
everyone.
That would be good.
Evening. We were so professional that we was making sure we are definitely here. Please let us know you can hear us, guys. Is there one? I guess I might explain what we're going to be talking about today, because this was a little baby I've cooked up with some help here, because 40k can be amazing and badass, but yet it also kind of can make you cry sometimes. So let's talk about some of the things that really just hit you in the feels. To what, maybe we'll talk about some great victories and like funny moments. Yeah, like 40k's funniest moments in the future as a tier list. But for today, it's gonna be tragedies. And it's not just any singular sort of like one event. It's kind of spread out. It's not just Imperium. It'll be a little bit of Xenos in there. And I will specify as well, we're not doing the Horus Heresy is not on this list, because that's not really one event, and it has multiple things in it, and it's maybe not specific character deaths, maybe one or two in there, but nothing. If we did every character death, we'd be here all night. So we're not going to be doing that though.
I'd put it in F tier for funny.
Yeah, so
big funny.
Nice.
The big funny though.
Horus pranked them.
We're going to start off. Some of these are quite big, so we'll have to explain a few things that happened in these events and why it could be pretty sad. But I guess we start with the first one, Andy, I think, which is top left. It is the first Black Crusade, and specifically
this
one.
Abaddon in it, so it's going in D.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Okay, where are we putting Abaddon?
Sandman just suddenly twitched in rage.
He was slumbering, and then his eyes went, I hear bullshitting. Man. Anyway.
We should specify, though, during the first Black Crusade, we did lose a few real ones. We lost Sigismund and Dawn, if I remember correctly. Or maybe Sigismund technically just before, but... so we lost quite a lot there. Losing a Primarch and only get his hand left after is pretty mid for Imperial victory there.
Big win for the lads.
Yeah. Sorry, Andy, this might not be your favorite episode here. How tragic is this, though? Is it like...
I'd say...
It makes you deeply upset, like remember it forever, or is this...
I honestly never think about it.
I'd say put it in B, just, like... B for Black Crusade. Primarch loss, not great. Sigismund, not great. But, like, what was Rogal Dorn going to do? He was going to build forts. Well, we already had Cadia. Cadia was built without much of... much stuff. Was Dorn... I don't think Dorn was that involved in Cadia. Like, clearly you can build defensive structures without him being around.
No, you can build defense. He's not like planning permission. Do you guys call it planning permission in North America as well?
No,
which is like,
I don't know what it is.
Well, it's like if you want to put an extension on your house, you need planning permission. From your council.
I don't know if we call it that. We just said like you need like city approval or from whatever.
Yeah. So you can build like a shed without Dawn knocking your door, going, it's not fortified correctly.
I don't know what this was from, but you've reminded me. I took a photo of a book I was reading. It was like, Dawn had apparently declared the fortress to be adequate. High praise indeed from the dispassionate lord of the Imperium's greatest siege masters. It's from the Blood Angels omnibus. It's just like the idea of Dawn going adequate is like, yeah, well done, guys.
Some guy just fainted immediately as soon as he said that. I do think that one, it's pretty... It doesn't get anyone upset. I mean, it is tragic for Sigismund mostly. I don't think I'm that upset about Dawn going, but poor Sigismund, he did get to spit on Abaddon's face, and literally he did get cut in half.
All right,
whoops.
Now I feel the
yeah.
opposite way. All right,
yeah, Dawn, so a little bit harder, because we should. Yeah, Sigismund, he stabbed Abaddon right in the heart, but then Abaddon literally ripped him in two, and then Sigismund, with his legs missing, went, "Screw you, you suck." I think we have is that a donation here? Is it by
thank
Dorn?
You. Thank you.
Do you want to get that one, Eli?
Sure. I'm gonna finish my... I'm just chomping down right now.
Oh, sorry. I didn't
missed last stream where chat was pretending to be Vulcan and Colin was doing the best Eldar child impression. that is a classic occurrence.
Fucking lighting me up.
Glad to catch this one on my B-date. Cheers, Lads. Happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday,
And,
brother. Happy birthday.
Remember, fellas, there is a human behind that messy bed. So it's clean today. It's clean today. It is made. It is very nice.
Yeah, wow. He's literally. Do you make the bed, Colin, now because people have been talking about it?
Yes.
Oh god, oh, no.
If I'm on camera, I make the fucking bed now. I'm gonna get so much shit.
Wow.
Oh, thank you for the $10 and happy birthday.
Thank you, brother.
Much love.
The next one on our tier list, though, I had to find creative images for this. This is, I believe, the Abyssal Crusade.
Yeah.
And for people listening, the Abyssal Crusade was, I think, happened in around like mid M36, M37, and essentially a corrupted member of the ecclesiarchy he declared that many chapters of the Adeptus Astartes they had erred and they were heretics, but funny enough, they could earn their place back by going on a crusade into the Eye of Terror. Quite a few chapters, like dozens of chapters, went into the Eye of Terror on a crusade, and basically all of them got corrupted because this member of the ecclesiarchy was essentially
he was a traitor.
He was a traitor, and only I think one chapter returned, and basically like hundreds or thousands of years later, and they exhumed his they basically did I don't know what it's called in history, but they put the Pope's like body on trial. Essentially, they put the bones on trial.
They dug up the previous pope because the current one didn't like him, and then they had a bishop give his answers. Yeah, I watched Salmonella.
Yeah, so
art imitates life.
So this is a big L for the Imperium here, and how
it's kind of mid though.
About this?
It's kind of mid.
It's not really that tragic.
Yeah, and like the chapters are all like they all have like a paragraph of lore.
I mean, yeah, it sucks for them, but you know that my thought process doesn't extend any farther than that. It sucks to be most of those chapters.
It is like, a tragedy, to be fair, though. It was a big loss for the Imperium.
It's like discount Bad Ab War, though, I feel like.
It's not even that.
Bad Ab War at home.
Oh, I forgot to put Bad Ab War in.
Like, this is just, I think, just Space Marines being fucking dumb and not being like, no, I'm not listening to you. This wasn't the Bad Ab War. This was where it was, they were containing it, and then the chapter stopped like listening to the Imperium. This was some dude was like, hey, all of you go into the literal mouth of hell. And they're like, yeah, okay, sounds good to me. And then they died.
I think it's not even that. I think it's more of a case of like, well, are you a pussy? You're not going to go into the Eye of Terror. It's like, no, I'm not a pussy. It's like, sure. You and you got lots of muscles. You used to be a bit of a scaredy cat. I'm not afraid of the Eye of Terror, Dad.
So this is like the equivalent of children going, I bet you won't touch that rock over there. And you're like, yeah, I will. And they basically run over and touch the rock, and then they realize it's.
I bet you won't lick the icy stream. It's like, yeah, I will.
Like, yeah. Also, like, how many Space Marine chapters was it? I want to say it was like 20 something.
Yeah, I think
so that's
nearly 20,000 were lost.
Yeah, all right. So it's like 20,000 Marines. That many guardsmen die in a day in a single. Like, I do not care.
In a breath.
Even with the limited number of Space Marines, there's 1,000 chapter. 20 of them gone isn't going to make a fucking difference. It's not that big of a deal.
What I always lament is that they say that all the first company Terminators have like a shard of the Emperor's armor in their ceramite. I'm like, all those shards missing. You could have melted those down and made like a thimble. That's a bit of a shame.
No. Tiny bit
of that a bit of a shame is not a tragedy.
It's whatever.
The next one though, this one's a bit hard because we don't know all the details, but this is the Age of Strife.
Talk to the hand.
This was for people listening, this was after the sort of the AI revolt of humanity, and essentially loads of psychers just started popping up everywhere across like the many worlds across the galaxy. There's no Imperium at this time, but there's many stories of how during the Great Crusade, like many Space Marine like legions come across cultures where they basically, the ones that survived are the ones that sort of harassed and chained up their psychers during this time, and then ones that didn't basically were overrun by rampant psychic power, and then was a mass like loads and again we don't have like well, only a few characters were probably around there, like the Emperor and some Perpetuals. And
Yeah.
Eldar were just having, or this was still there's no Slanesh yet, so this is Eldar having fun.
Yeah.
They
They haven't been turning
wacky.
people into drugs yet. They were just like, oh, we're getting a bit crazy, but
it's a pretty.
They might have been doing it by that point.
yeah, it's
do-
not like the hard stuff yet. Yeah.
I would put this in seated just because there's no like proper first-hand account, despite how obviously tragic and horrible it must have been.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like that strongly about it, though.
I feel like it has to be above the fucking abyssal.
Yeah,
Crusade.
true.
I have no emotions. I like the Age of Strife. At least go, damn, yeah, that really sucks. Even if obviously there's not much about it. The Abyssal Crusade is like, damn,
it happened.
Okay. It sure
It
is.
happened. Oh,
Sure
well.
must have sucked to be some of
Anyways.
those Marines.
It sure
it's
was a
that-
crusade.
It's that Top Gear meme. Oh no.
Anyway, yeah, pretty much.
Chat's saying S tier for Age of Strife, but I don't know.
We disagree with
Say it
you,
was,
chat. There.
DJ B
It's-
says it was so bad that Big E came out of his Discord mod cave, which is
That's true.
Well, here's the trouble, though. It's like, yes, it's supposedly quite bad, but we don't really have any context. We just hear it's bad. And so it's like, I can't really empathize with the Age of Strife other than hearing it was really bad. Is
There's
there any
one
stories?
weird plot point, which is, do you remember Andy in the Magnus Primarch book?
Yeah.
It was they land on that planet and there's like a proto ship from Terra, and then essentially they turned it into like a prison for psychers during the Age of Strife, and then
Yeah.
Magnus comes into contact with this entity formed of all like the tortured. I think they ripped the souls out of people who were psychers, and then all these psychos were like, why did they do that to us? And then Magnus went, but that's the reason the culture survived. And they were like, that's awful. Yeah, I know. But poor Magnus, he did get strapped down to a chair in that book, which is quite funny.
Yeah. I
They hold him.
chair.
Do you know that literally, because it's like formed as powerful as Magnus was, this was like formed of thousands and thousands and thousands of psychers. And they basically took him into this, essentially what would be like a modern day prison hospital. Like it looked really like clean and weird. And they basically strapped him down to a chair and went, you suck. And he went, possibly, but you activated my trap card. I'm not even joking. He activated a trap card and they like sealed it away. But yeah, not as tragic as, to be fair, not as tragic as the next thing coming up here. I might have to ask Colin to do some heavy lifting on this one, because this is is it High Fleet Kraken or
Yeah,
one of
I believe
basically the
Kraken,
devastation of Iandin. Colin,
was
you're gonna explain that.
So Iandin was the most populous craft world by this point. Even after a couple of them got Cyclone torpedoed, they were still the most populous craft world. And then the Hive Fleet showed up. And they're like, all right, this is a problem, but we can handle this. And then like the first wave of high ships, were dealt with in space. And then the second wave showed up, and the third wave, and then the fourth wave, and then there was no more Navy. And then the first ones to land on the craft world got obliterated. And then, they're Tyranids, so you know what that means. And the second wave, then the third, and on and on and on. And it was, despite pretty much every craft world sending forces to Iandin to hold back, the Tyranid Hive Fleet, did not go super well. And it ended with 80% of every Eldar on Iandin getting devoured. And
I believe it states 4/5 of the craft world was
Yeah.
devastated.
Yeah, like either like both craft world itself and the people on it. Not great.
I do like what Heberick said. D for dessert.
It wasn't a total loss though. They did pull a W, didn't they, Colin?
They did ultimately win. This was half of High Fleet Kraken, while the other half was going to fight the Ultramarines. So it wasn't like, this was one random Hive Fleet. This was the second of the the three biggest major Hive Fleets. It wasn't like they did win, but it's like that's a lot of dead Eldar, and the Eldar don't.
Pyrrhic victory.
They should have let Matt Ward write their codex.
He's actually the one who wrote the Iandin supplement. He's the reason Iandin is the only craft world that's had their own like special book.
Yeah, I get, but this story was out before that though, I assume.
Yeah, I think it
Probably,
was.
Just
Because
wanna,
the Ultramarines definitely did not have nearly as hard of a time as the Handon did.
No, they didn't.
But then again, I've just done a video on Fideus Hack, who's an Inquisitor, and he's like, "Oh, I found evidence that the Tyranids invaded millennia ago," and he's like, "I want to go into the Black Library because the Eldar must have records on it." It's like, guys, you should have been ready for this. If that's the case, you've already fought them before.
Neon in chat says S tier, so tragic that 20% lived.
Yeah.
Jesus.
If that's what it takes to get them into S tier, then it is what it is.
Neon LF Grazy, but how tragic so many of my Tyranids died.
Yeah. Tyranids died in Eldar.
Wow.
I will say,
pretty epic.
Jake Thornton did say what Colin needs is a VTuber body pillow to put in his bed, but I just thought mention that quickly.
Come on.
I saw that.
We have a
but
donation. Cool.
Oh.
Thank you, Eldritch, the
Thank you,
old
the
gray one,
Eldritch,
for
the old
$5. Welcome back, friend. The Lamentors win easy. They are like the collection of Shakespeare's works, all tragedies. Very true. They always win, though.
Didn't have one event, though, for them, unfortunately. They're not on this list.
Their whole existence is just sad, I guess.
What you said, so where do you think, Colin? Is this S tier?
I would say S, not even beyond my normal Eldar sipping. This is the specific craft world that I'm like, I paint and everything.
The Custard Boys.
Yeah. So, all right, let's not have this talk again. But I will accept A if no one is willing to give it, the S tier.
Like
I said, I'm 2 layers of bias deep on this one, so I understand.
It could only go to
and that's pretty epic. I'm going to put it in S tier.
It could go to A simply because it wasn't galaxy shaking consequences after it. But then it's as in terms of a tragedy, it's horrific. So I'll leave it in S for my friend's poor broken heart about that. So,
I will say is one of the few events where the Eldar actually get some damn credit because they beat half of a hive fleet.
Nice. Although I like the idea that like Tigurius from the Ultramarines is just like, I could do you one better.
Fuck you, Uriel hurt the hive mind. This is the same thing where that happened.
Yeah.
And
I believe he also stabbed his boyfriend in a murderous rage, and that. So there's another.
That's a quote for Warhammer stuff, isn't it? The next one, Andy, is that one Hydra Cortatus, or is this would be? Let me double check let me consort the list here. This is Beta Garment.
Beta Garment.
Beta Garment, for people listening, is essentially when. Funny enough, there's actually 2 Beta Garments because there's one during the Horus Heresy, and then there's one later, I believe. I think essentially it's both times the Imperial Fists essentially get completely shafted, and I think the first time they are guarding Gene Seed reserves, and essentially a huge number of Imperial Fists get wiped down to a complete man, and they're all gone. And the fact that they lose these Gene Seed reserves means that it actually goes into forging new chaos. And I do believe it's the Gene Seed that Honshu goes to make those Demonculaba with, which again adds to the tragedy, just letting you know. And I think there might have been another event where I think there was a second Beta Garment where basically the same thing almost happened again.
Oh, shit.
Essentially. So
the artwork for this on Lexicanum is the Titan Death.
Yeah.
That's one of the few Horus Heresy books I own.
So this one was this one wasn't the most tragic, but its consequences were pretty horrific because it basically was Homunculaba.
I would say I give it B
Demonculaba.
tier for birthing that abomination into the setting.
Yeah.
So that one's pretty yuck.
I say on a whole, not super consequential. I mean, obviously, if you're an Imperial Fist, sucks. But like, compared to some of the other events, it's not as faction shaking.
Yeah.
As some
They
of
didn't
the
fortify hard enough.
Yeah, as I'm looking at the 2 next events, which are like some of the worst things in 40k. It's like compared to those,
pretty bad. Look at that.
You know what? I'd even downgrade it. It can't be worse than the Age of Strife.
Yeah, it's probably It's
like in reality.
I'm sorry. Can we just
Abyssal Crusade into D?
I was going to say, can we just get that out of?
No, Abyssal Crusade.
Abyssal Crusade.
That's the one.
The Abyssal Crusade in D.
Yeah, because it really is like compared to the rest of this list. I'm just realizing.
Yeah, 20,000 Space Marines died. That's not great, but you know,
it's a lot of lost cool.
Probably that many died at this battle alone. Horus Heresy.
I mean, Horus, like the first battle of Horus Heresy, like Istvan, like way more Astarte side than 20,000. That was way worse. And these are successors, so it doesn't count.
I will say though, the next one might have some mixed feelings by the panel here, because this is the birth of Slaanesh.
/ fall of the Eldar.
Yeah.
The fall of the Eldar, birth of Slaanesh. Now, I'm going to let Eli go first, because I feel like Eli might want to talk it up a bit.
It's a split decision. Big Eldar fan, but I mean, they got what they deserved, and Necrons rule the galaxy now, so they put it in A tier. I don't know.
I would like, now that since we're officially recording and this is live, I would like to state, which I feel like I've said before, but just to say it again, it is not the Craftworld's Eldar's fault for Slaanesh. People always go, it was all the Eldar. The Craftworld Eldar are the ones who left. They were like, no, this is too much.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just as a brief description, though. Unless do you want to talk about that, Andy? Sorry,
I was just saying, like, I mean, but the thing is, they left, but like, I'm sure they were doing some messed up stuff. They were just like not quite as.
No, they lived. They
shoplifted.
The ones who started it were the ones who just lived on the craft worlds, which by the standards of the old Eldar Empire were just like cargo freighters.
So they're the boring Eldar. So like, we're not doing anything. We're not doing anything.
They're the reasonable Eldar.
According to the people who were snorting people drugs, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what?
They were in charge.
It inadvertently led to the fall of the Emperor's children, and that's the most sad thing ever. So put that in S tier.
I will, just for people who are listening who are not as familiar with it, when I think it's Lorgar Aurelian in his audio drama, where he basically has his vision quest with Chaos, he gets to see like a representation of the fall of the Eldar, and it describes it as essentially a tidal wave of demon flesh flooding over all of the trillions at probably this time Eldar in essentially the blink of an eye, and their souls are consumed in a wave. And even when Lorgar, I think, sees this for the first time, he goes, "That's horrific," because he sees an entire civilization die almost in a sort of within minutes.
I would say also,
go ahead.
Worth mentioning that Orican, the diviner, felt it. He has no soul, and he felt it and was so horrified he like hid himself away for centuries.
It's definitely like it might contest for the #1 spot. I'm not gonna lie, Andy. We should put it into the very top of. I think it's worse than the Andin by far.
Yeah, pretty bad. I have Terror. Pretty bad.
On scale, it is, but it's another one. It's like the Age of Strife, where it's like there's not too much detail.
There are some characters that saw
Man
it,
of Terror into the chat with our bad mouthing of the Black Legion and Abaddon. Oh yeah, we didn't say
I'm a Black Legion supporter. I'm with you, bro.
Oh, Ed, we need to get you on one of these, brother. We need to have you. We have got
not over what they did.
If you're interested, Ed, we've got one. We're going to do all of the Horus Heresy books in one tier list. So we'll have to, if you feel up for it.
But like, it's another. It's like definitely a little more detailed than the Age of Strife, which is just kind of like
the death of the gods, really, isn't it? As well, the Eldari gods. We should mention that.
It's for the Eldar, it's the most tragic thing to ever fucking happen.
Too much gooning.
The scale is pretty. I mean, to be fair, like so, I think you agree. Like, we don't have first. There's not many people who saw it probably firsthand, other than like Eldrad or
there's a
Vect
couple
or things like that.
There's a couple Dark Eldar characters. Orican, probably Trazen, because he was probably just dicking around for fun. Why not?
Tried to grab a quick demon before it.
Probably tried to grab Slaanesh. Oh, this will make a good conversation piece.
No, this one's pretty horrific, but nothing quite hits. To be fair, having said that, nothing quite hits as hard as the fall of Cadia.
Even I have to admit, big sad. Even if I find it, little goofy. Abaddon gooned.
Does anyone want to explain the fall of Cadia for why they think it should be in that spot?
Abaddon turned Cadia into a deviled egg. Look at that. Oh,
nice.
Makes me sad.
It's pretty. I mean, to be fair, Cadia held for so long as the like bastion against the Eye of Terror, and then when Abaddon wasn't winning, he threw a hissy fit and he threw an entire Blackstone Fortress starship, breaking the planet apart.
You everyone badmouths him for that, but he still won. He
Well,
still
he-
won. Yeah.
Yeah,
Basically
but that's
just like-
like the football team that still won by essentially like
No,
tackling, getting rid of their enemy's best player by tackling him illegally or something.
Yeah.
It's
he just had an oversized Beyblade, and he was like Beyblade, just chucked it. It's got big pointy bits.
I mean, it did result in the Great Rift. I think one Blackstone Fortress for one Great Rift is a.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair elixir trade.
That's a good equation.
It's also, you know, a little bit tragic too, because in real life, it like the Warhammer plotline ended at 4999.
Yeah.
Like for like what is it, like 20 years or something real world time? It's like, yep, storyline no going forward. So, you know, for 20 real human being years, it was like, yeah, that's Cadia. It's still there, it's holding out. And then
doesn't that line
suddenly
up
it
with
wasn't.
the historical inspiration for, is it Candia? Was it Cabri or something? The city that the Ottomans sieged for over 20 years, which is what inspired Cadia in Warhammer, I think also was sieged for over 20 years. So that's pretty on point.
The siege, I feel like everyone knows about. Oh yeah, it is Candia. For
Candia.
21 years, the second longest siege in history. God damn.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't know about that. I got to be honest. Every time I think of Ottoman sieging, I just kind of go to Vienna and the winged hussars. They kind of.
Oh, the charge.
Yeah.
The alliance. The winged hussars are coming. Also, a detail I like about it, again, the Cadian Guard, the famous, the planet broke before the Guard did. And then there's like my favorite tidbit in the lore where, as the planet is like their home world is breaking apart and they're all evacuating the survivors, the last of them are basically opening up their like cantinas and stuff, and they're like shoveling in dirt of Cadia just so they can still have a piece of Cadia as it's dying. But the thing is, like, again, that like kind of hits you in the feels a little bit, because it's like, oh man, like imagine if Earth basically got Beybladed, as Andy said, and then we were, it's like people were scrapping together the last parts of it.
Or,
Just there,
although
to remember.
the whole digging up, it just reminds me of those guys who get like, they dig a little chunk out of football fields and they go, I've got a little bit of the football stadium where Manchester United play. Like, it's just soil. Calm down.
Is that why they don't like, you know, in like tourist areas, they don't let, like back in the day, it must have been wild because they didn't have all these like fences and stuff. So people, how many people do you reckon have a bit of Stonehenge? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how many people? Yeah, like how was it in the Colosseum as well? There's a story about a guy, was it last year, who carved his name into the Roman Colosseum and he was arrested. Because people just go like, I just want a piece of it. I want to do something.
To be fair, that's very in touch with what the Romans probably were doing with the place. They graffiti everywhere.
Is it Hagia Sophia has like the mark? Do you know the story about the markings?
Oh yeah, with the Vikings, where like they couldn't translate it, and then they finally did.
Halfdan was here, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just like some like half something was here. They thought it was some religious significance, and it just I was here.
Bro leaving his mark. Do you reckon like our generation will, you know, like the S people should draw in school?
Yeah, my gosh.
How is that universal, by the way? How is it I can say that and then people like thousands who went to school literally on the other side of the world were like, yeah, the same thing.
Just like open the Necronomicon and there's like an occult reference. Oh no, it summons a demon when carved into someone's skin. Oh no,
Halo, the sacred icon.
Exactly.
Speaking of the next tragedy, this one is the cybernetic revolt.
I see at best.
Yeah,
it sounds pretty crazy, and like the galaxy had to work together to stop it, right?
Yeah, but it's the same thing as the Age of Strife. I mean, it's part of the Age of Strife.
It was before it, technically. So the Age of Strife happened, I think, 2,000 years after.
I think it's better than the Age of Strife because there's a little bit more descriptor. I feel like it sounds.
And we still have Men of Iron. We have some Men of Iron.
It's a shame.
It's more memorable to me when I think about it.
It's like you could have the Terminator and iRobot and all sorts of stuff. But the trouble is, it's just that problem of, oh, the Age of Strife was bad when we had no technology. It's like, oh yeah, you got any stories about it?
No. Sucked.
It's true. There's some Men of Iron kicking around still. And there's also the tragedy that because of the cybernetic revolt, it led to the creation of servitors.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize, like, I'm gonna look this up. Servitors have been made since like the mid 25th millennium. So you think about how many people have been turned into a servitor since that time.
Yeah.
You just go like,
up
a bit then. Just
I guess that's fair.
That particular Warhammer TV Angels of Death Origins, where it's the Mechanicus episode, is really harrowing when you just got this poor guardsman being turned into a servant, and you're like, oh my god, you gave me hope he was going to escape, but no, dear, he's got no eyelids. Why has he got no eyelids?
Now, to be fair, again, there's unfortunately the cybernetic revolt is again, it's so far in the past, it's kind of hard to really have any great ties to it. But this one, I think Eli might feel a bit sympathetic to.
Yeah, I'm a bit. What it is? This is
the Damocles Gulf Crusade in which the Imperium lost.
Was that a tragedy? That's not a
this
tragedy.
It's classed as
back for a minute. If we're going through Damocles and going to badmouth my guys, I'm going to go for a wee.
Well, that's absolutely just called a tragedy because it's the Imperium coping over the fact it didn't win.
Yeah,
like that's not.
It's one of the few times the Imperium actually kind of does give up, though, in a way.
Maybe that's not a tragedy. That's just taking L. That was when Hive Fleet Behemoth showed up.
Yeah, otherwise the town would be extinct right now.
Just for I think, or Eli might be able to describe it better, but there are a few versions of the there's more than one Damocles Gulf Crusade as well, I will mention. So the first one, though, quite a few Space Marine chapters turned up, and they were all like high and mighty, being like, we're just about to wipe these aliens. And they like so many chapters took heavy losses during, even like the Ultramarines, they basically they were getting counterattacked so hard that they actually pretty much that they couldn't sustain the war even if they kept going.
That's not really a tragedy, though. That's you bit off more than you can chew because you were so full of your own hype.
But even then, the tower were like on their last legs of reinforcements and resources.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The Imperium didn't know that.
And then the Cato Sicarius and the guys were literally about to win the whole war, and then got called back. So I mean, it was like
you have a slight problem with Tyranid.
wasn't that Cato Sicarius? The Farsight triggered an EMP, which basically froze their machine spirits. They were stuck in their armor, and they basically had like Kroot holding knives to like Cato Sicarius.
There was a moment when that happened, but I don't think that was at the end. I think that was
it was the end of the first one, because at the end of it, they basically the reason Farsight doesn't kill him is basically because the negotiators behind the scenes went, well, the Imperials. That was literally when the Imperials found out about the Tyranids.
I'm just saying, like,
it's not a tragedy. I don't know.
It's not a great tragedy.
Losing a war is not a tragedy, especially if it's a war like you start.
Yeah, unless this might also mean the Damocles Crusade, where Farsight goes by himself and they become the Farsight Enclaves.
Yeah,
because it's a picture of red Farsight with the sword and stuff.
Yeah,
so like,
this is the best.
They lost their ethereals and stuff.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Like that losing a war whose only purpose is to kill more aliens. It's not like it's barely a defensive conflict.
They barely even lost at that point. Yeah,
so it's fine then.
Aliens bad.
Cato Sicarius did get owned though. Which is the greatest tragedy.
Did put my foot through a diplomat though. Cato Sicarius.
Best scene in all Tau history.
What did he say? What was his quote as well? It's like, would you hurt? Was it you hurt an innocent civilian? He went, yes.
Like, would your forefathers be like proud of?
Yeah, it's like, would your forefathers be? And she wasn't even talking to Cato Sicarius.
Yeah, she got like this other guy listening to her, and then he was about to like surrender to the water cast, and then Cato Sicarius comes bursting through the door and stomps her head in and freaking flattens her.
Turns into a flip flop.
Crunch.
It's pretty awesome.
I love that guy. He doesn't give a fuck.
His boot was sticky after that. Poor guy.
Like when you go into a nightclub and the floor's sticky, it's like, oh, what's that? It's like, oh, it's just brain matter. Anyway, real shit.
This is a bit bigger. This one. This one is. I didn't want to put the Horus Heresy because that's just too big. So this is the wounding of the Emperor of Mankind.
Bozo.
This is the crux in which basically the 41st millennium is the grimdark future is responsible.
But it let him achieve godhood. So I mean, like, kind of cool, kind of nice.
Again, technically it's also the death of Horus. It's the death of Sanguinius in a way. It's the vengeful spirit's sort of conclusion.
Yeah,
and it's pretty much the interment of also should mention it's the death of Malkador, the hero,
big sad,
on the throne, and it's the imprisonment of the Emperor, who we found out in recent lore basically was screaming to not put him on the throne. But no one could hear him but Malkador. and the Emperor's like, I don't have to be on the throne. I don't have to be on the throne, but no one can hear him, so they put him on the throne.
Oof.
And it's pretty. That's like a recent thing in lore where he actually is basically saying he could survive without being on the throne, but they do it anyway just because of the power.
Just,
but didn't somebody need to be on it?
Not quite. I think it was more to hold back the like it was implied that the Emperor could have healed if he stayed off the throne, but because he was so wounded, there was no one could hear him.
Oh, that sucks.
It's just like imagine the most uncomfortable chair you've ever sat in your life, and you have to sit on it forever. That's all it was. It wasn't any healing. It's just like, it's so uncomfortable. Please don't. Oh,
it's not quite the Iron Throne. But this one is worse. Pretty. I would put it. What do you guys think? Actually, where do you think
it's put it? It's probably it's more important than Cadia blowing up. Not gonna lie.
But is it more tragic though?
I feel worse for those. I feel worse for those guardsmen than the God Emperor.
Yeah. I think Cadia just hits like too strong because it's like mortal men, isn't it? It's like average blokes and women. But then
also Trajan just dumping Pokeballs worth of shit.
Abomination.
Custodian, I choose you. That guy's been like
the company of Horus Heresy Ultramarines on the battlefield. He just threw them out there. It was like, have fun, guys.
And they're just like, where are we? I don't know. Courage and honor. Courage and honor. Off we go.
Are those Chaos Space Marines? They're still around?
Edmund the Spiffing asks, so what's the point of the Throne of Terror books? That's because the Golden Throne is basically old as hell, and they have to keep the Mechanicum, which the Mechanicus have kept repairing it for 10,000 years, but essentially it's been breaking down. And I think they have to go talk to the Drukhari to make a deal because they can understand the technology.
Except the homunculus that showed up didn't do anything. He just basked in the pain of the Emperor.
Well, they basically, the Drukhari agreed to help repair the throne for a fee, and they essentially, the Drukhari's current like plotline is essentially they're making like a dark golden throne to essentially close off all the wounds the Yunari made in Comoros. And they're trying to clone the Emperor as well to make like a puppet.
Why would you ask the frick out of it?
Because desperate times.
Because the Throne of Terror, the Golden Throne, is made of technology that is a mixed match of like human and Xenos technology. And I think the Drukhari are the only ones who have some people who are old enough to understand the Xenos tech.
Not the regular Eldar? Like the good guys?
Well, the Drukhari are the only ones who keep certain people alive, whereas the Crawford, if I'm right, Colin, they let most of them only live to like 1,000 years, is it?
It's the Craftworld Eldar do technically have a bit of a shorter lifespan, although it's also because like the Dark Eldar are like vampires, and as long as they get their soul juice, they like
as long as they see someone get kicked in the balls from a
yeah, as long as they watch enough like ball kicking compilations on Dark Eldar YouTube, they can go back at it.
Was it Cock and Ball Torture?
Yeah, CBT.
Cock and Ball Torture.
It's like it just
nourishes the soul.
The Golden Throne is just like, imagine if you had a Nokia 3310, but you needed to still call your mum occasionally, and it's like, I need to keep the connection going. I need to go to the old lore, the old tech, to keep it going and updated with new software, even though they don't make it anymore.
So,
my dad's Nokia still works.
In this case, if you don't call your mom, the phone explodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, everyone after this, go call their mum and tell them you miss her, right?
What is the next one, by the way?
This one is
that's just the death of Sanguinius.
No, this is the whole event surrounding Goge Vandire.
Oh.
If anyone want to explain for the good people.
Got the Sisters of Battle out of it, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to explain like what basically the sort of rundown of that event for the people?
Like, imagine if the Pope tried to usurp Jesus Christ himself. That's Goge Vandire and the Emperor. And Goge was like, I'm in charge now. I'm going to rule the Imperium myself. Because he was in charge of the Ecclesiarchy and the Ministor?
Oh, yeah, I think it was the Administratum and the Ecclesiarchy.
He was like the first High Lord of Terror to have like 2 leading positions. And then he was just like, I don't need the rest of you.
So,
yeah, they were like, I don't know about that.
So they were also like the 2 most important positions, the Imperial Faith and the bureaucrats who are in charge of sending everything everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he kind of won the game of politics.
He almost
Yeah.
ripped the Imperium in two, though, as I think even the Astartes were preparing to like
especially
basically
the Imperial
go
Fists.
civil war.
Because the thing as well, before this concluded, the Ecclesiarchy had a standing army. I think it was called the 41st Militia. And it was just like a bunch of blokes who were like, I'll flagellate myself, and then I'll whip you. You're like, oh no. And at the end of the war, they were like, no, you can't have it. The rules were something like you cannot
No
now
men can
draw
You cannot
arms.
deploy men at arms or some
And then they
shit
were
like
like,
that.
well,
We
that's
don't
fine.
need men.
Well, we got some ladies who we can ask for some help.
But to be fair, as some context, many people, essentially anyone he didn't like, even entire like systems and planets, would just declared heretics, like all of them. So a lot of people did die during his reign because essentially he was like, that one administrator who I don't like, or other High Lord, he's kind of from that planet. He's got a power base there. I'll call him some favors. A few exterminators here and there and things like that. So it got pretty dicey. Does anyone want to explain though how he did get his teeth kicked in the end?
So basically, sorry, did you want to go?
Oh, if you want, Kate, you want to go, you can do.
Well, basically, there was a faction called the Daughters of the Emperor who were on this kind of strange world. And they were like,
Brides
we're
of the Emperor
warrior.
or Daughters of the Emperor?
Daughters of the
Brides.
Brides. Of the
Brides are
Emperor.
later, is it?
Brides are later, yeah, because I think it's Daughters of the Emperor, and they're like warrior women, and Gojo's like, this is a good idea. So he uses his Rosaris to be like, shoot me, and I will not be harmed because I'm protected by the Emperor. They didn't know he had like a refraction field in his Rosaris.
Yeah, it was just like an energy shield.
It's like, he's divinely protected by the Emperor, and he's like, cool, I'm going to do all this weird shit. And so when he was in the Imperial Palace, I think it's the Imperial Fist and some other Astartes chapters like, right, we're going to stop him. And they go into the palace, and all of a sudden they start getting gunned down by the now brides of the Emperor. And they're like, what is this? Who is this lady with the armor? And then eventually Amon Toromachian, who's a custodian, is like, this isn't very good. I better tell them, like, oh, by the way, what's her name in charge of the
St. Catherine?
Daughters?
No,
St. Catherine? No,
I don't remember
Catherine's
who it
later.
was. It was the head sister of battle by that whoever she was,
Not
or a
Amelia
couple
Dominica.
others.
Dominica, Amelia Dominica,
Sure.
something Dominica.
Might be Dominica, I think.
I think it's definitely Dominica. And then Amon's like, by the way, you've been tricked. And so she goes and cuts his head off. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, we can't have a standing military that are made of men for the Ecclesiarchy. But these ladies, they're quite pious and pure. And they're very good at, praising the Emperor. I guess we'll let Dominica be in charge because she's kind of sorted things out pretty neatly and tidily, And that's not. And then Amon, I guess, goes back to bed because he's.
So you also forgot.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
You bring up Sebastian Thor.
Oh yes, Sebastian Thor's there as well.
An Imperial. He was the reason they turned against Van Dyer in the first place. He got that ball rolling.
Then
where's he
people
now,
thought
by the way?
people think he's a reincarnation of the Emperor. It's
Well,
like a
he's
major
dead now.
faith point.
Holy cow.
He's dead now.
Oh, but his head is somewhere, isn't it?
Dude, he's
Okay.
got like I think
Trazen
it's-
has his head.
It's an in-universe joke, I'm pretty sure, that like among Inquisitors, that if you got every like supposed body part of Sebastian Thor, he'd have like 5 heads, 50 arms. Because like so many people have claimed to have his body parts. Trazen's like just has a slightly more valid claim because his head is preserved and not just a skull.
Where would you guys put it on the list, though? I don't think it's super. It's not the most tragic.
Yeah, it's more of
It's
a
not-
good thing.
it's
in
not
the
the
end,
epilogue.
Yeah,
I
it's a
feel
net
like.
good. Yeah, less men with
Net good after.
Flames.
No, but
several billions of
his whole
people
existence, though,
killed.
his whole like existence was a pretty, negative overall experience for everyone. I think maybe it's below the age of strife, surely.
I give it like middle of C tier because it's like, yeah, that sucks, but that's.
But now we have the Sororitas, and they're awesome. Cool.
Let me check my next one here. I believe this one is
Titans.
the next one is the Hydra Caudatus. I believe it's called that.
That's something.
What is
Those are
that?
words.
Yeah.
That has
I
to do with
believe
Alpha
this
Legion,
might
doesn't it?
be
Put it in D
Hydra
tier.
Caudatus is the largest. It might be classed as the largest battle in the heresies. I think it's the largest Titan battle, at least. I think in the entire heresy.
I'm not
Or was that
thinking-
Beta Garmin? I might. No, we did Beta Garmin, but Hydra Caudatus is, if I remember, I think off the top of my head, is possibly like one of the most apocalyptic battles that ever happened. And it was, I think if does anyone here remember correctly, was it the final stop before the Horus like pushed onto?
I believe it's where things like Titan Death and stuff like that happen, isn't it? Where it's like the last push before they rally at Ulanor to go for the throne world.
Yeah, this one was, I mean, a lot of the other, I don't think any other battle we probably have on here quite compares in terms of like humans fighting each other. It was ridiculous the amount of like Titans and Imperial Guard and Legionaries were fighting on the field, and essentially it was just a ridiculously large bloodbath. And I mean, I wish I had like more lore to kind of go off from the top of my head because it is pretty cool battle, but unfortunately it is only one battle. It is considered a tragedy because the Imperium, it was kind of one of their last-ditch efforts to really hold Horus in place, and the traitors managed to pull out a victory on here. It was close, though, to be fair. And again, it led to sort of the push towards Terra. But again, it's only one battle, though, unfortunately.
That is like overall, like that's like the feeling I get towards that isn't tragedy. It's, oh my god, all these Titans are going at it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's nuts. Where do you guys think that should go in the list then?
Bottom of C tier at most, honestly.
Because this is where Perturabo's doing a lot of.
Douglas Watson said I switched up. Oh, Beta Garmin is the one I meant, and Hydra Cortatus is the. Which they're in the right, but we're going next to each other anyway, so it's fine. I think. Yeah. In my brain, they're basically quite. No, I'm thinking of a different one. Never mind.
Big robots were fighting.
The big robots were. Mom, Dad, the robots were fighting again.
It was BattleTech for people with way too much disposable income.
And the next one, though, I mean, we all know this one. This is Istvan 3.
Oh, sorry. We put him in C tier?
Yeah.
The thing is, it's so forgettable. We were switching it up with the other ones. That's the trouble.
Thank you for the assist there, brothers, though, in the chats. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next one is Istvan 3, though.
Yeah, it's got to be S2.
That's the only Horus Heresy event that gets any fucking emotion out of me.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to go through the details of that just for the listeners?
Can I take this one since it's the only Horus Heresy thing?
If I talk about it.
So this was after the the traitor legions became the traitor legions, at least I believe 5 of them. Sons of Horus, Death Guard, World Eaters, Emperor's Children. I feel like I'm missing one that was at Istvan.
No, Istvan 3. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I always throw in the word bearers for some reason.
It's like Sons of Horus, Emperor's Children, Death Guard, and World Eaters. So it's like 3 of the 4 like champions of the 4, and then 1,000 Suns just aren't there, and then instead you've got Chaos Undivided champions, which are Sons of Horus. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
And so that was they decided they're going to betray the Emperor, but they needed to make sure that everyone in their number was actually, really down for it, wouldn't ultimately defect because the news hadn't
clown boys.
Yeah, because the news hadn't fully filtered down throughout the legions. So the Primarchs and those who they knew were loyal to them and were down with the whole, joining Hell thing, got together and went through their forces and selected troops that they did not feel, like I said, would follow them into Hell. They feared they would either, stay loyal to the Imperium, or they just weren't motivated enough. And on the planet of Istvan 3, which was scheduled for a compliance anyway, it was, doing a little bit of rebellion, I believe. They sent those forces down, and there was a couple of them thought it was a bit weird, especially Eidolon, right? He was the one who...
Fulgrim wasn't at the Battle of Istvan 3, so Eidolon was in charge instead.
A couple of them on the surface.
Salt Harvest is in charge of the loyalist forces.
Yeah,
Eidolon is in charge of the traitors.
Yeah, he did stay behind Salt Harvest, but he was like, Eidolon's a glory hog. Why isn't he down there? Why did so many squads get shifted around from their normal compositions? And then he was looking through, like, why are our fleets going into planetary bombardment stance? What's going on here? So then he jumped on a ship and warned all that, like, basically screaming, the 31st millennium version of the British are coming.
Nice.
And it was like, get into fucking cover now!
Are you going to blow us down? British, like, with virus bombing a planet? What's going on here?
I was just thinking. I don't know why I had that image. I'm associating Saul Tarvitz with Paul Revere with the.
You're just like,
they're coming.
British war crimes. It makes sense. Yeah.
The equivalent of the tea in the Boston Harbor.
Throwing tea into the Boston Harbor is the equivalent of burning people.
And was that not the greatest tragedy?
Exactly.
It was grown and it was shipped halfway across the world, only to be shoved into the water to make a discount ocean tea.
Get clowned on Bozo's 13 colony lead and he dropped it.
By the way, we did get a $2 donation from Neon LF Grave saying, "I really hope that Squad Broken is on the list."
Thank you, brother.
Squad Broken.
Squad Broken.
Don't bring that up, you fucking monster. And then the rest of it was, they virus bombed. A lot of the loyalists died, but a whole ton of them still lived because they got into cover. And then instead of just bombing them again, Angron got a bit ahead of himself and went down to kill them all himself. And it was just the first battle of the Horus Heresy, and it was between, not even really between, I mean, obviously it was traitor and loyalist, but it was between members of their own legions. It wasn't, you got the nice, clean, you're an Ultramarine, you're a loyalist, versus you're a son of Horus, you're a traitor. It was same legion, brother fighting brother, and they it's just sad, especially because it's on Isfahan, they're we know we're not making out of this alive one way or another. The best we can do is bring down as many of them with us as we can.
And they give it a bloody good effort as well.
Yes, they did, to the point that the final, they did eventually just virus bomb the last stand of them, because we have been here for 3 months. We have lost tens of thousands of troops beyond what we already planned to lose. If we invade that final fortress, it's just going to result in another month of a shit fest.
A lot of big characters also bite the dust. If anyone's read the first few Horus Heresy books, which I think a few people have, if they just if they read the lore, and Tarek Torgadon, so one of the Mournival and friend of Loken, just gets killed by little Horus. The dancing bear. And again, Saul Tarvitz, I do think he did die in that. Some people are like, oh, it's not.
Yeah, I think it's good.
You didn't see a body. It's not like Marvel, guys. Okay, it did go.
Feels bad.
Small one is Vipers, near the guy who is Loken's friend and sort of second command. He goes. Loken technically bites, supposedly gets defeated in there though, and
you get Solomon Demeter, who's Emperor's Children's second company captain. He gets
the best Emperor's Children.
Lucius.
If Eli can confirm that, he was in the Fulgrim book, wasn't he?
You got Captain Erlen and Shabrandar of the World Eaters get messed up as well. Huron Fowl. I'll not mention Huron Fowl.
Sorry for laughing. I was looking ahead. Is that just Erebus? Is the tragedy for that one just Erebus?
No, I don't. That's not Erebus. That's Horus.
I
couldn't put Erebus is not a tragedy.
I thought it was Horus, but it also I've never seen that art of him before, so I was wondering, is that just Erebus as a concept?
Oh no, that's we're almost at that one. I'll explain that one. But yeah, that one's. I agree with S2 though, because that one is pretty.
Yeah.
Imagine people who were listening to it when it came out, because no one knew Loken would survive a little bit longer until later. Yeah. So they must have thought wow, half of the main cast have just died.
Bodied.
In all the books. Yeah.
If nothing else, you all know very well, I do not care much for the heresy and Space Marines in general. Even I think that's fucking sad.
Speaking of building upon that though, the next Isfahan, which is Isfahan 5, the actual drops massacre. So
this one makes me more sad than Isfahan 3.
Really?
Yeah, because it's Fulgrim and Ferris, bro. It's so freaking sad.
I don't even think about that. I just think about the salamanders, Raven Guard, and Iron Hands getting bodied.
I mean, the thing is as well, it's also the Isfahan one, even though they get fire respond and then they get coated with fire and then they're slowly routed in siege for months. This one's just an afternoon where it's it's free, it's 4v3, but they're wounded, so 3 legions against 4 is fine. Oh, is that the Iron Warriors? Brilliant. This will take 5. Oh wait, hold on, no, stop, please. And then it's just all of them being surrounded by 7 legions is pretty bad.
This one has Primarchs fighting Primarchs though, which is real for real brothers fighting brothers.
Lorgar and Corvus, they go at it. And then Conrad shows up. there's like that weird. It describes it in quite a few of the books, where it's that moment of like silence, where they're all going, "Hey, brother!" Like they're hailing like their allies, like, "You coming or what?" And they're basically answered by silence, and they're like, "You guys coming,
Yeah.
Fellas?
guys?"
Is it
And
that
then
Padme and Anakin one was just like, we're gonna go fight the traitors, right? Silence. We're gonna fight the
Yeah.
traitors, right?
Oh,
you brought him here to
it's-
kill me.
Yeah, it is just Order 66, pretty much. Well, I
Yeah.
guess it's Order 60, I don't know. But like, even Lorgar has a moment where he freaks out, right? And he thinks that he made the wrong decision. Doesn't that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when he's
Yeah.
like, Fulgrim's being possessed. Oh, come on. What's going
Yeah.
on here? I don't like this. Banish
It's really
thee.
sad. And then
I like that. I do even-
Fulgrim just gives up at the end, and oh man.
I do like that moment with Lorgar though, because he definitely
Yeah.
just has like a panic attack, and he goes like, "Oh crap! I'm literally annihilating like my friends and brothers. Like, oh my god, oh my god!" And then Corferon's like, "Pull it together, boy."
I just don't think it's S tier because I don't know. I feel
Have you do that in? We'll say from the book perspective, particularly a lot of
yeah.
them, a lot of like even the poor people who read Iron Hand books, the Iron Hand,
God
like
rest his
basically the
soul.
entire Iron Hands like cast, even their first captain, just basically gets gutted.
Yeah.
Like you lose so
and not
many.
only that, they also
people.
get like you have is it Gareth Arendi, who's one of the Raven Guard. He actually like makes them so that he can escape with his Raven Guard men. He like sets them up for traps where they get sacrificed so his men can survive. You're like, oh, you naughty boy. Ugh.
There's a
Yeah.
really sad one in
It's
there's a Salamander short story where because they don't all die immediately. Like some of them like just
No,
survive
no,
and they
it
get
takes a
hunted
few
days.
down. And then there's a bit where like some of the salamanders they have like one of them's like there's a squad and they have like a scout with them. And he's like one of the younger members, but he's like he's trying to be brave and he jumps a chasm and he gets shot. And then they're like, no, wait. And then they basically realizes he got shot by other salamanders, survivors. And they basically like one of the guy like runs like rips off his helmet, like, oh my god, what have I done?
Yeah, friendly fire.
Yeah, so like again, a lot of them hid under their bodies or basically gutted. Some of them got friendly fired and things like
Oh,
that.
man.
So yeah, it
I know.
stings.
I think it makes me more sad than Isfan 3 personally, but that's just because I like the Fulgrim book a lot.
Yeah, Ferris
That's
does
fair.
get his head cut off.
It is.
That does hurt, and then
Uh,
Fulgrim basically
Yeah.
has a mental breakdown.
They didn't
I don't think
deserve
it's-
it.
It can't be
Basically,
worse
be like
than
Shadrach, raise the storm, lad, raise the storm.
How many
Oh,
casualties were in? Were there more or less casualties?
Oh,
on
loads,
Isfan?
'cause
Wow.
I think
hundreds
it's
of
like
thousands of
hundreds of
Astartes.
thousands. 'cause
Oh
like,
yeah,
yeah.
because this was
Right?
3
Like,
entire
it was worse,
legions that
surely.
got
yeah,
like
because the 4 traitor legions have their numbers more or less halved, not just because of the purge of the loyalists, but also they didn't have a good time fighting the loyalists. It took them longer than they expected. Iron Hands alone have like over 100,000 Space Marines. Salamanders and Raven Guard are a bit smaller, but then you consider like I think it's something like the Raven Guard lose 90% of their men or 80%.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
think
a
this
lot
is
of
a worse
numbers.
tragedy than Isfan 3.
It's in
I'm
terms
just
of numbers,
saying.
it is. It's just there's
Yeah.
less
yeah.
character-driven stories than
There's less
Islam
main
3,
character deaths other than
Yeah,
and it's
and
a
it's-
slaughter, not,
and
a,
it's
not a siege.
And like it's like having like you said, like with the book perspective, I haven't read. It's probably a lot worse, but like from an like just a
Seems quite
wider
generic, yeah.
as an event, it's like this isn't like Istvan 3 where it's the same legion, brother fighting brother. It's the first action of a war.
And it's
And
also
it's one-
worth, oh sorry.
I say, and it's one hell of a sucker punch, and it definitely sucks, but it's just I don't know. For me, it doesn't have the same like punch.
And it's also worth remembering that in Istvan 3, all the Primarchs are traitor involved. In this one, Ferrus dies, Vulcan technically dies, then gets captured and tortured, and Corax has to escape. And it's like, oh, so you lost 2. Oof.
I think we had a donation by
from-
Bunny Cop.
Thank you, Bunny Cop.
He says, he quotes, "We will die on our own terms. Self-detonation dreadnought reactor. R.I.P. those 2 Death Guard."
Yeah,
Rip.
Huron
Big
Fallon
rip.
and Temeter.
I think the Isfans can go together. I think,
Yeah, I think so.
and I might argue, just from perspective, should we downgrade the Birth of Slanesh just because there's no character?
I would say, yeah.
Like I'm not feeling
fine with
I'm
that.
not feeling it's in that echelon anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll say though, Isfan 3, 10,000 years later, had a happy ending. Fulgrim gets
Yeah.
surprise virus bomb.
So not as tragic then.
No, but it's
Oh, man.
glad he got what was finally coming to him 10,000 years later.
or someone roasting him. The next one, though, again, this is just a battles one, but this one is essentially the battle for Moloch, and this is essentially where Horus, they attack this heavily defended world, and this is where Horus enters the warp and essentially becomes the proper War Master and turns fully evil, rather than just a bit of a cock. The battle of Moloch itself is quite. It's not super tragic, but there's like some events in it, which was like, one of them is there's like a Blood Angels. Well, there's an Ultramarines contingent stationed on there, and essentially all of them get massacred, and a lot of them like throw themselves at Horus, and they all give their lives to the last man. The Blood Angels contingent on Moloch. This is the set during the Heresy, by the way. They are the ones where they come across the Angel's Crucial, like the Red Angel demon that was made up basically when they failed at Cygnus Prime to corrupt Sanguinius. They made like basically a black rage demon, and the Blood Angels on that planet were confronted by this demon, and it was like, yes, turn. Basically, it was doing the city's like, yes, turn to the dark side.
Your hatred.
And the Blood Angels, rather than surrender to like this rage building, and then they actually all like did a mass seppuku essentially, and they basically took their like blades and then they went like up through their skulls, and it was like, oh god. So this one is actually really like, when you read it, it's like, oh man. And
just done that with a bolter, Christ.
Yeah.
You have it.
They do that rather than get corrupted.
Is this the one with House Divine in it, the Night House?
Yeah, or the Night House corrupted by
Slanesh,
slightly.
yeah.
So that one's kind of weird. It's not the most tragic event in the Heresy, but it is essentially, it is where Horus in a quote unquote dies or something, or basically becomes the War Master as well.
He's committed to the bit now.
And he also, this is where the Knights Errant, the ones who are like proto Grey Knights, they also above this world try and mark out the vengeful spirit for Lehman Russ's, RKO, whatever suicide attack. And Loken and loads of the other members get captured, and then one of the characters who we've been following since the early books, I can't remember which one his name is. It's one of the other Lunar Wolves. One of the other, not Severin, because he turned into a Grey Knight.
Yakton Cruz, the half-bird.
This is the guy who's like basically the old geezer of the Legion, and he's the one who basically he escorts Euphrates Keeler from the Vengeful Spirit on Isfahan 3, so she doesn't die. And he basically gets his two heart, like Horus basically plunges his claw and takes out his two hearts, just stands there on his throne, like twiddling them with his fingers.
Feels bad.
Yeah, so he gives Loken his oath of moment to basically not turn back.
He was
to
also
Horus.
the one who shot a Dark Angel when they infiltrated Caliban. He's like, and he's like, "We got to listen, lad. We got to do what we got to do. It's just a Dark Angel." Like, Yakton. Naughty,
I didn't
naughty
read
boy.
because I didn't read them in order, like a lot of the books. I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then I read all the other stuff before, and I was like, oh damn it! It's basically like he's basically like a Katachan in Astartes form. This guy, he's cool. And but yeah, Moloch is like Moloch was a huge battle as well. The traitors didn't actually. It had two legions, so the Death Guard and Sons of Horus, and they didn't actually like really win the battle, but the Imperium essentially lost so much because of it, because a whole like Night House eventually, like they literally threw a Night House at Horus. They managed to isolate him, and then they all got crunked. And
he went,
like that.
Nah. By the way, we got a donation from Douglas Watson for $2, I believe that is, or is that euros?
That's euros, yeah. Euros.
Yes. As an Iandan army owner, I appreciate the S tier. There you go.
We got you.
Fantastic.
Iandan mentioned people are gonna love that.
Hell yeah.
I don't know what you guys would.
Big bushy beard. Who's this?
Are we happy with
Good
leaving
man.
a Moloch in
Grimgar?
B though? Moloch is it's not the most tragic. Yeah, you can put it pretty low down, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Big bushy beard. Space.
Armageddon.
I believe
months of shame.
this one is the Months of Shame. So this one, does anyone want to explain this one for the lovely people in the chat for that?
Space Wolf plot armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Should I give a brief
Yeah, go
overview?
for it.
So there was this thing, right, called the First War for Armageddon. Pretty bad. Demonic invasions, not very nice. So eventually, the Imperium was like, right, Armageddon's really important. This is the first time it's been invaded. We're going to send the Space Wolves and the Grey Knights to clear up the demons. Space Wolves are doing a pretty good job. Grey Knights come in, absolute wash. Yeah, we've won the first war for Armageddon. Angron gets crunked. Everyone's a winner. Except whenever you get the Grey Knights involved, they have a tendency, I say a tendency, more like a duty in their eyes, to kill anyone involved with even a sniff of chaos, potential corruption. And the Space Wolves, as much as people don't like the Space Wolves a lot, they're pretty much like very heroic and very much like, oh, we will defend the innocent and civilians because even though we're kind of barbaric warriors, everyone loves us because we're always saving the civilians. And so when the Grey Knights are like, we're going to kill all the children, the Space Wolves are like, no, you're not. And so then there's a war between loyalists, Space Wolves versus Grey Knights.
I want to mention just one thing about Space Wolves. This is not related to this thing, but it's in the Ragnar Blackmane book where it's his first space battle, and the Space Wolves are like at war and they're like invading a chaos ship, and they essentially make it back to their own ship like just in time. And there's like the bit where their leader goes, "We should cheer for our fallen brothers." And basically, like they're like, oh, "Yeah!" Like they're all, and then Ragnar Blackmane's like, "Oh yeah." And then the ship explodes outside the enemy ship, and they all go like, "Yeah!" Like, even louder. And then the leader basically goes, "And now we're gonna have some ale." And then it says like, it says in wording specifically, "This was the loudest roar by far," and it was so deafening that Ragnar Blackmane couldn't hear for a bit because they were going to start drinking.
The champions of protecting the innocent and alcoholism. We love the Space Wolves. They're just goofy goobers.
Hey, I'll give them that. They're the legion I'd most want to hang out with.
Yeah, and to be fair, I think it was DJB said, like, not much of a fan of the Space Wolves, but the Inquisition get an L. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
They managed to kill not the Grandmaster, but no, is it?
I think
It was a Grandmaster, not
Grandmaster.
a Grandmaster.
So they kill one of the top 6 guys.
He one-shots him, I'm pretty sure.
It's Logan Grimnar.
Which is very sad as well.
Logan Grimnar, I'm my special chaos axe.
But that was also that was the Grey Knight who also helped defeat Angron.
Sorry.
Okay.
Could you do another impression of Logan Grimnar? That was exceptional.
Logan Grimnar is my special chaos axe. I'm 13 and this is deep.
That's a great. I hope that's canonically when the next book comes out. He's saying, and then I sent my Space Wolves into the Grey, and I didn't like chaos.
I personally, I love Space Wolf plot armor because it makes the haters so angry. So it was great.
I'm haters.
It's a seethe and cope moment for all the Space Wolf haters.
I think it's only cool when the Ultramarines do it.
I will add to this as well. Basically, the survivors of the First War of Armageddon, they're all being euthanized or made infertile by injections from the Inquisition. And then the moment the Space Wolves go, that's kind of weird and wrong, they basically get attacked by the Inquisition. They turn up at Fenris with the Dark Angels and Grey Knights. Because I think, isn't it a changeling? Is actually one of the members of the Inquisition who's plotting this. And they basically start attacking the Space Wolves and one of their planets. One of their planets, I think, is pretty heavily damaged. And then essentially the Imperium just starts fighting itself. Again, like the Grandmaster who died from the Grey Knights. I think of all the Grey Knights, is it like 100 Grey Knights fought the Demon Primarch Angron, and only like a handful of them survived. And then that guy gets killed by Logan Grimnar. in a parley. You know what I mean? So it's like
he basically catches them off guard where he's not ready to fight. He's just like, "Oh, I'm dead. Oh no!"
Yeah, because he insults the Space Wolves, and Logan Grimnar goes, well, "That's kind of not my thing," and then just slams his axe into his chest.
So he actually got baby mad.
Big words for someone who doesn't have vocal cords anymore.
I think Logan's like, big words for someone who with an axe in their stomach. Like, what? It's a slam. And so basically loads of people, and then even the ships that were surviving, that the people that the Space Wolves managed to save, the Inquisition started hunting them down, and they started exterminating, if that's even a word, like planets that had, like, say, one survivor of Armageddon landed on that planet was exterminated. So that's why it's called them. And then basically after the Changeling was revealed to be like the Inquisitor, and then basically the Grey Knights went, yo, we should have probably pulled out earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was bad.
They had
too.
that post-combat clarity at that moment.
Post-combat clarity. That's why it's called the Month of Shame, because they very much just like billions and billions of people died.
And
for...
to this day, the Space Wolves do not allow Inquisitorial vessels anywhere near Fenris. They're like, if we see you, we will shoot you on sight because we don't like you anymore.
Where does everyone think this should go, though? After having said all that,
Because
it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty. I think it's pretty bad.
It's not worse than the first Black Crusade, surely. Nah.
Would you go? What Colin?
Worse than the Men of Iron?
I don't think I should be the deciding vote on this one.
Oh, so you have to say it. You have to say what you think.
D for destroy Space Wolves.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I think it deserves A. I think because it sounds
worse
so
than
bad.
the Black Crusade.
Actually, maybe not. Maybe the Black Crusade goes up one.
Yeah.
Maybe there.
No one important died. It was, a Grand Master, an unnamed
I think he was named.
Probably invented for the. I meant he was invented for that book to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Harry says that's perfect, so maybe we didn't know.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fair enough. The next one, though.
Welcome
now
to
this
the Bone Zone.
This one is the biotransference / death of the Necron tier. Does anyone want to have a quick explanation of what that is for the uninitiated?
The Necron tier at that point fought against the old ones in order to both get the secret of either eternal life or not having super cancer from the old ones. Lost the war, and then they found the Catan, who they gave bodies of living metal, and then the Katana made him a deal like, hey, we'll make you super powered, we'll give you so much more strength, we'll free you of your horrible wasting bodies, as long as you just help us kill the old ones, which you want to do anyway, right? Isn't that a great deal? And then pretty much all but one of the ruling Necrons was like, yeah, that's great. Orican the Diviner was like, no, that's awful idea, don't do it. And no one listened to him. So they underwent biotransference, the entire Necron tier race, and the Catan ate their souls and put them in living metal bodies, and they were now the soulless Necrons, and they killed the old ones.
And the Twice Dead King book describes it as they are like the entire race, which is like crowded on their homeworld, just has to march towards it, like these massive furnaces. They burn them alive, and then the people die along the way because they're just the super cancer.
Like some are too cancer ridden and frail to walk, so people are carrying them on funeral pyres, and then eventually they're like, he's dead, and they just drop him. Like, all right, keep marching, keep going. Like, oh, that's pretty bleak.
Yeah.
But then they get command protocol, so the Silent King is basically can force control over them, and there will never be another new Necron / Necron tier after this, because the entire race essentially dies and gets copied into metallic bodies. They're not soul transferred, I don't think. They're actually a copy.
Also,
so the real,
99% of them have no personality anymore. It's just the Necron warriors, ghost of a personality in there.
Oh, Border Prince, welcome, brother. Praise the Messiah. We're talking about keep it somber, boys. It's tragic. This is terrible.
Soft pensions dancing man. And first of all, that's a mouthful of a name. Good man. Second of all, hell yeah.
That is, to be fair, that he is right. He is correct.
Fall Leech over Falcadia.
Where's everyone want to put this though? Where's everyone want to put the?
It's pretty sad.
It's sad, but also the Necrons are really hard to like.
What?
They're just they're just very spiteful and Necron.
And humanity isn't in the same.
But the fact that Altix in his book is described as having the strange characteristic of being compassionate. It's you're not making it very easy to like Space Wolves are barbarian warriors, but they have a good heart. Necrons are just assholes.
It's because they got their souls taken away.
No, but even before then, when they were Necron tier, again, Altix was characterized as being compassionate. It's I get you have a bad hand with
but this is it's the death of all the good Necron tier as well, though.
Only
assholes remain, essentially.
I do agree with what Andy's saying in the sense of they kind of brought it on themselves, but I think the stance of anyone is worse than anyone else. It's
I mean, it does.
Chaos, yeah, is the evil, but like
right.
Necrons versus Imperium in a morality
think-
debate.
Here's the thing, Colin. Here's the thing, Colin. But then again, Eldar in the equation. You kill a lot of Eldar, and I know you like your Eldar, and
They
you know,
do, but by this point in the war, they're still at the point where the Eldar are fully, balls on the table, full psychic might. And Kane is, uncharted and able to actually do things.
I think this is A at least. It's like it's basically the equivalent of the fall of the Eldar, isn't it? in a way?
I'll give it A tier,
Yeah,
and it is like the War in Heaven is the event that turned 40K into such a shit show way down the line. Like it ruined the Sea of Souls, turned it into the warp and chaos and shit. It's just for the Necron tier themselves, very sad. Any of the potentially good ones probably lost their personality because it's just mostly the power hungry nobles left that have any individuality. It's just like you kind of did that to yourselves.
To be fair, Eli then also got more Xenos for the setting, so he's not that upset about it.
And we killed the old ones. They got what they deserved.
That's true.
So,
ribbit.
pretty awesome.
Speaking of the next one, though, this one's probably not quite as bad, but this one is the Octarius War, which is like a recent thing, which they kind of just left alone after. I don't lie.
Yeah, it happened.
Do you want to briefly explain the Octarius War, just for reference?
Cryptman, in his infinite wisdom, decided that the Tyranids are ever growing and always, every time they consume a planet, they get stronger. The orcs, every time they leave a fight, come out of it stronger. What if we just throw those two, factions against each other, and then when one of them wins, we can come in and finish off the weakened one? Except the problem was the Tyranids kept going stronger and stronger because they were eating more and more orc biomass, and the orcs kept getting stronger and stronger because they were fighting just 24/7 nonstop. So instead of weakening either faction, it was like he just pumped them both full of steroids.
And the Black Templars threw themselves in the middle of it.
That also happened, but like, okay. But why did they do that?
What it essentially
a picture of him, Cryptman, just there with like a meme, just going, mistakes were made. It's like, yeah, just a couple.
Whoops, the biggest whoops ever. But the consequences of this entire war was that an entire imperial system got decimated, and essentially the High Fleet basically found the Orcs' stronghold and just ignore the Imperials, went balls to the wall attacking this last bit, and they eventually did manage to wipe the Orcs. So basically all the Tyranids got loads of a huge amount of biomass, and essentially there's this massive hive fleet now, which is first of all experienced, has consumed the biomass of strong orcs, and now they incorporate that into their own DNA, and they are basically fed like full. So
they're ready to fight.
The Imperium is, and the Imperium, by the way, could contain it when it was trying to contain, as in like it tried to fight the outskirts of the orcs versus the Tyranids. It couldn't take either one of them on individually, and essentially now this war has led to what might be like a ridiculous tragedy of the this one's a tragedy in making because the Imperium
I was saying, like, I don't think we can really count it as a proper tragedy yet because nothing's come out of it yet. As for like Octarius itself was just like you said, a big oops. It's like Cryptman, both of them thrive on conflict. What was the end goal there? The realistic end goal.
Thing is, you know how I think it was last week we were talking about the Necron Lords and about how Imhotep hates the orcs and he wants to kill them all, and the Silent King hates the Tyranids because they're gonna. It's like just both of them meeting each other and like having a bit of a scrap, and all of a sudden they look at the Octarius and they're just going, "Oh, come on, guys! You're making it worse for let's team up and sort this out because this is neither of us want this. This is bullshit. Imperium, why are you like this?"
What guys do you think you should? Where should it go in the list? Then do you think?
I'd honestly put it D tier, like above the Damocles Crusade, because like I don't think that's a tragedy at all. But like that's like just a tragedy in the making at most, because as the Octarius like war is, first of all, metal as hell, because the whole planet was basically just orcs and Tyranids as far as the eye can see, and every now and then there'd be an Imperial Guard outpost sitting there probably crying profusely for the mess of a planet they were on. And on that it was just a sea of green and like red.
Speaking of something that might be a bit hard on the next one, this one is the
Yeah.
destruction of the Pharos beacon / the death of Barabbas Dantioch. I didn't really want to do too many character things, but this one might be the most like tragic event in terms of like as in how it's written. For people listening, the Pharos beacon was a thing during the Horus Heresy. It has a consequence I'll get to in a bit, which I think Colin knows quite handily, which was
Oops.
the Pharos beacon was essentially like the Astronomicon people, they were all cut off during the Horus Heresy from that, like a big swath of the Imperium. Gilliman in the Imperium Secundus, like temporary empire he set up. They had this Pharos beacon on the planet of Sotha, which basically acted like a communication hub and also like a mini Astronomicon / North Star onto Macragge.
And teleporter.
Yeah, and a teleporter as well. The Night Lords decided that was cringe and decided to invade
They were like,
the Pharos
imagine
beacon.
how much like raiding we can do with this thing. Like, you guys have one goal and it's terrible. You should stop. You should get some help. Naughty
And
boys.
basically ended up being essentially as well is the first layer of tragedy is that the defenders of the Pharos beacon were actually members of the Broken Legion, so like members of Iron Hand, Salamanders, and Raven Guard, and some White Scars were the defenders with some Ultramarines as well, and also Imperial Fist as well. Apologies. These like basically the ones who got shafted at Istvan, a lot of them had made their way to Macragge, and then were sent to defend this Pharos beacon. They all end up dying. Barabbas Dantioch and Alexis Pollux is essentially a Iron Warrior and Imperial Fist who notoriously they forever into the modern set, like the 40k part, those two hate each other so much because obviously the biggest, huge rivalry between their Primarchs, but eventually they become like essentially best friends and they make like a true bond. And eventually Barabbas Dantioch gives his own life to sort of sabotage the Pharos beacon so the Night Lords can't use it. And his death is really sad because it's actually the only time you ever see a Space Marine cry. So Alexis Pollux cries for Dantioch's death because he was once his enemy and then he loved him like a brother. And he even says, like, when Gilliman does come to reinforce them, he growls at people like, "Don't touch he was my brother, only I will hold him." And then they give him like a warrior's funeral as like a hero of the Imperium. It's honestly pretty, like, in the book is very like, oh, what I mean? You basically go like, Jesus Christ. I think Andy, you might have said when you made a video on it,
yeah,
like people, when you read the excerpt out, often people do get quite emotional.
I get comments on my video all the time, just like, oh, why is this? Who's chopping onions? And it's very sad.
Because it's the only time you see someone like really like, they're all meant to be soldiers, so they're not meant to get upset or it's meant to move on and fight the next battle. So it's the only time you ever see one guy like properly mourn for another friend and be like, why we could have lived,
I'd love to see a montage of them when they're like best buds and nothing's wrong, just them just going, just the two of us, we'll build castles in the sky.
Also, the next part of the tragedy, I think, Colin, do you want to explain what happened when the Pharos died? A couple of times you said this, I know.
In the real world, it made a pretty big explosion. In the warp, it made a very big explosion, and that explosion was so bright that thousands of light years away, it caught the attention of the Tyranid hive mind, who then realized that Milky Way equals food and promptly shifted courses directly to the Milky Way.
Milky is in the name.
It's basically the Tyranids.
The ultimate
this is the death / rise of the Tyranids one. I think it may be, again, if someone hasn't really read the book, it's hard to kind of convey how sad this is, but just the Tyranid consequence, I feel like it does put it in S tier at least. Maybe just below Eandon, because I feel like that was more of like a whole craft world died.
Whereas it's just like a Barabbas for that little group.
Yeah. But yeah, technically Barabbas's fault, the next one above it. So that was pretty bad.
We got a donation. You can go ahead, Andy.
Oh, do you want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
From incoming backup, Squiggly 30, I'm not sure what that is. Just joined the stream, and for some reason, the death of Boingob isn't in SSF.
Oh my god, we
truly
forgot.
shameful. I did not give you the knowledge of Boingob for you to disrespect him as such. Hold on.
Can we
let me
get a Boingob in the chat?
Can we get a quick
just see if I
picture
can
of a
find a picture
squig
of
and
it.
put
Can we quickly
Boingob?
put Boingob? Although it's not quite 40k.
His death transcends setting, a tragedy across time and space.
Let me just find a picture of him.
Poor guy.
Boingob. For people who didn't
We'll
catch
miss him.
the previous streams, Boingob is the father of all squigs, and
Age of Sigmar.
in Age of Sigmar. I can't remember how he died. Did he get? I think he, just got,
He tried to eat the son of Hysh, the realm of light, and it burned him.
he
He
got-
tried to eat the
my
son.
man got rotisserie chickened. And,
Holy cow. So goofy.
yeah, Boingob is a bit of a spiritual animal
I
for
can't
this.
think about Boingob again. I'm gonna keep
There we go.
laughing.
We fixed it.
Nice.
Sorry.
Very
We
nice.
won't do that again.
King Boingob.
He's back.
He's back. You cannot get rid of him.
God. The next one, though, I didn't really want to do the Horus Heresy, but this is kind of like it's not really one event, but it's multiple, which is the disappearance of the Primarchs. So this is all of their sort of things, how that would have consequences on the setting. Obviously, it can be Corvin's Corax basically crying his eyes out and leaving the tower
Quoting
a
the
year
Raven.
after, basically going, Edgar Allan Poe, and then leaving. Basically, he's like, nevermore.
It would have
So
been
this is
more
like-
tragic if they didn't bring them back.
This is like all of the ones after the heresy, right?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
post Siege of
I-
Terror.
I don't think this should really be higher than B, because the thing is, all of them have died or
No, they're coming
disappeared
back.
in a way that's pretty clear. Like, if they need to come back or if GW wants them back, they will come back. Like, even
Yeah.
Rogel Dorn, like, they found his hand, but they never found his
Yeah.
body. It's like, yeah, that's pretty, like, that's like one of the biggest, like, he's just on a bus, he'll be back later, off-screen deaths.
He's
Like,
on a bus.
all of the Primarchs after the heresy, like, are perfectly primed to come back. It sucks for the Imperium, and it's bad, but, like, and I know it is a meta reason, but
Yeah,
you
in
can't
universe, it's pretty bad.
yeah,
them.
it's just like, I don't know. I can't shake the whole feeling of like, yeah, they're not dead. They're very much not dead. Especially like some of the, like, Corvus, he's just in the warp, fucking with Lorgar. Gilliman is back. The Lion, it was technically part of the heresy, but yeah, he's old. But he's back.
I mean, there's also
Yeah.
I guess maybe the consequence of them leaving or them disappearing is basically the Grimdark universe, because had a Primarch been around, Vulcan was still around. He was kicking for a while, and it's still
Yeah.
to crap. Is everyone happy to leave it there in B tier though? Because I think it's not the worst, but it did have consequences that were pretty.
But I think the Imperium was on a downward spiral no matter if they were around or not. It was just maybe they could have mitigated it a little bit.
It also hits the feels because obviously we all like Primarchs, so
Yeah.
miss you boys. The next one though, this is basically the fall of Prospero, the burning of Prospero. Prospero. This is a tragedy because
ratio,
it was
Thousand Suns fans.
Yeah, that hurts. Essentially, the Horus tricked the Space Wolves instead of arresting Magnus for not the webway thing. I'm counting in a different thing, so it's not.
I've got some stuff to say about that one.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's the last one. But essentially Magnus was meant to be arrested, but Horus, turning traitor, changed the orders for Lehman Russ. And joined by Sisters of Silence and Custodes, they essentially burned all of Prospero, the home planet, or the Thousand Suns, and the Thousand Suns Legion, basically to the ground. I mean, soldiers that, Marines that fought with each other, to be fair, in the same book, not that long before, then had to, fight each other. The Thousand Suns, they were not ready for this at all. And so Magnus disabled their shields because he thought it was better to let one legion die rather than, sort of ruin the power balance in the Imperium.
Is it Izakar? I can't remember his name. Ifakar, whatever his name was. One of his captains was like, "You do know the Space Wolves are coming." He's like, "Yeah." It's like, we should defend the civilians, and Magnus was like, "No." Kills him. Like, oh,
listen, that Grey Shark 77, the burning of nerds is not appropriate. Okay, this is tragic because also
Magnus could have stopped it. He could have stopped it.
In the book, it goes over the citizens of Prospero, who were kind of innocent in all of this, basically get blasted from space. Like many
Vaporized.
people like hiding in their homes and stuff, and it's pretty horrific. The Thousand Sons desperately try to hold back. Like they think they just been randomly attacked by the Imperium for no reason, and a lot of them just in their desperate defense just go fuck it, and they just start using their powers too much, and they basically get flesh changed in the middle of the fight and turn to monsters. And
Chaos spawn, fun.
they get chaos spawned as like a getting chaos spawned is not fun, I imagine though.
No.
And basically most of, or nearly the entire legion gets destroyed, and then when it's the last moment, Magnus decides it's like when they burn down the library, by the way, Magnus goes, okay, that's too far, that's the line. And because they basically like, you can kill my sons and my legion and like my legacy, but touching that knowledge that could be used for humanity, okay, Lehman Russ, you barbarian idiot, you've gone too far. Again, why does he destroy the libraries? No one's quite sure. And
by the way, we got a donation of £2 from Conrad Kerr saying, "Much love from the Night Haunter."
Mr.
Thanks,
Conrad.
mate.
Thank you.
that's
He's
awesome,
good
mate.
enough.
Thank you though.
I love you too.
And to be fair, Magnus does get his back snapped by Lehman Russ during that, and then essentially they get corrupted by Tzeentch at the end because he gives in to the Tzeentch's offer. So that's the burning of Prospero. I think it is quite, particularly from the book
It is
side of it, is
sad.
quite like, it is sad because it's even on the Thousand Suns side and the Space Wolf side, they're very much like, we don't really want to do this, but we have to. And then they kind of, like a lot of them, again, my favorite part, the Thousand Suns make fun of the fact that some of them charge in unhelmeted, so they start popping them like with just shots because the Space Wolves are stupid sometimes. And like some of the Thousand Suns, like all of their friends just basically die because they're like, the Imperium has betrayed us, they think, in a way. It's pretty, and then all the people of Prospero, only a few people like survive who are like, it's basically like the Night Lords in Nostramo. The people who are still Nostraman who live, they basically live on ships now. That's it.
By the way, we've also
okay.
got a 15 squigglies donation from incoming backup again,
Thank you.
saying, also, when are you doing an AOS tragedy tier list? Because genuinely, AOS has some fucking tragedies, like Trunk,
does have
a
some big
tired
sets.
boy that will never sleep again.
Well, we could do a fantasy and AOS one. That could be a. I think Colin would actually do. Well, the end time would just be.
That gets its own tier.
times
End
tier.
times.
We'd actually we should do a fancy one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely will.
I can put that together.
Where's everyone want to put this one though? It's the
It's not Isfan sad. Magnus
give
is a
it, like,
goober.
A tier at
It's
most.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
Max.
A
A goober is
It's
a good
between
word. For
A and
Magnus.
B for me, just because
Yeah.
it's like over in an instant in a way.
I say I'll give
Yeah.
bottom of A or top of B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
fine
that's
with
fine.
either.
I'm more tied to it over the Black Crusade because you only see like one character
Yeah.
death in the Black Crusade really. Like, you
Yeah.
kind of feel bad for, whereas the Fall of Prospero is like the Thousand Sons roster gets halved. So and you spend the entire book with them and then they
Quite
basically
literally.
die. The next one though is basically quite similar. This one is the Rubric of Ahriman, which is the final nail death for the
Yeah.
Thousand Sons.
It's probably
He
worse
tries to-
than
Put him in D for
it's probably
don't
worse
care,
than the
'cause
burning,
nerds.
honestly.
I mean,
It's
he tries to
worse.
save them, doesn't he? He tries to do a magical thing to save them from the flesh change, and ends up turning them all into mindless dust automatons. And only 1,000 plus, was it a couple thousand of them
Yeah.
ever remain?
I feel like they probably maybe wouldn't have been turned to chaos if this didn't happen. They could have just been their own thing.
yeah,
But-
it's pretty. I mean,
Ahriman's a goober.
Ahriman is probably one of the only few people who actually like understands what he's done, though. So he's the one who
Mhm.
feels terrible about it. He's,
Yeah. Maybe like top of B for it.
Yeah, I guess.
maybe less
Like,
than
with
the
this-
Black Crusade because it's not that many
I say,
Thousand
like,
Sons.
I think it's also it's like compounding on an already existing tragedy. So like it definitely sucks for them. It's just like it's competing against like the same thing kind of already having happened.
Yeah.
It's like now they kind
And
of
it
double
can't-
down on it.
And it does kind of get old that Ahriman's just kind of like, I'll get it right this time, I promise. It's like, you said that
Yeah.
last time, dude. How many times are you going to try this? You silly
He's the guy
boy.
who can't cook, telling you like he's inviting you over for dinner. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Do I risk
Yeah, it's
it?
tough.
Ooh, what are we having for dinner, Airman? Microwave chicken.
I discovered seasoning today. It'll be fine. It's like, you don't know what you're doing.
This is salt.
There's also that Instagram video where the guy says just browning off the chicken, and it's like you can see it's still raw in the middle, and then people go like browning it off. That thing is
still alive.
It's still walking around, clucking.
That thing is so white it blends into snow. Like, it's just, the next one though is a bit more heavy hitter. This is the War of the Beast.
Another Imperial Fist L.
Yeah. Anyone else want to explain this one just for the uninitiated?
The orcs, a little bit weird, known as the Beast, rose to power and started basically upgrading the entire orc race into the orc they once were, like super orcs.
With good music, apparently.
Indeed. And killed off the Imperial Fist, literally to a man. There was one dude left.
Mm-hmm. And then he died.
And then he died. But they it was so bad. The Iron Warriors teamed up with Imperial Fist successors and like nearly brought the Imperium to its knees. Although that being said, it just kind of just end. Like it forms the Death Watch.
Vulcan kind of died in it.
Vulcan, for whatever that means. Vulcan died. Okay, he did that like 20 times during the heresy.
He blows himself up in it, right?
Yeah, he doesn't he like tackle one of the beasts into like a reactor?
He tackles it into like a wah. Like furnace thing, and it blows up, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's good. We killed the beast." And it's like,
"There's more."
It would be like if Darth Vader basically went down the shaft with Palpatine instead of like throwing
him. And then somehow the beast returned.
It's the bit where George sacrificed himself and goes, "Tell him to make it count," and then it does a more sharp. You're like, "Oh no!"
I don't want to think about that.
I don't think it's that much of a tragedy. It definitely has some tragic moments to it, but a lot of it is also just like it's a war against the orcs. It's a really big, deadly war against the orcs, but like in terms of tragedy, it's not like, like
it doesn't hit you hard.
And it's only really the Imperial Fist that suffer, so it's okay. It's fine.
There's like 3 Imperial Fists tragedies on this chart.
Yeah, they had to.
It fucking sucks to be an Imperial Fist. Is what I'm
There's
learning.
one Imperial Fist left after their initial fight. And then he rallies, he calls the last war protocol. So he rallies all of the successors of Dawn. And then he dies at the end of it. So the Imperial Fist chapter technically dies for a little bit.
And then the Excoriator's chapter master becomes the new Lord Command. I think that might be Maximus.
I think he's also, isn't the new chapter master, he was actually a character who was alive during the
he was during the heresy. Yeah,
so that guy's like 2,000 plus years old or something. Jeez. So he was an Imperial Fist initially.
Yeah.
Close enough.
He fought with like Fafnir and Ascalon and stuff during the Siege of Terror.
It's whatever. It happened.
Weirdly enough, wasn't the Soul Drinkers are there too?
Oh, he's the Fist Exemplar chapter.
Are they still alive at this point?
The Soul Drinkers. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were around. It was only like a few thousand years, right. Like 32nd millennium.
So M32. But I've got a weird theory, like people say like how in the Soul Drinkers stuff, like later, like their gene seed is not Imperial Fist, because I think it might, like there's a theory like lost Primarchs were shunted into other legions, like mostly Ultramarines. I think maybe some of them might have been shunted into Imperial Fists, and essentially the gene seed, like if they're making gene seed from something, it might have just been like, oh, you're technically lost Primarch gene seed.
They did their 22andMe or their Ancestry.com and just like redacted. Like, what do you mean? Oh, I want to know about my great grandfather. No,
Neon asks Dawn of War 3 on the list. If only that'd be up there with Born Gob, honestly.
Honestly, maybe in D because it's forgettable.
It's like the biggest tragedy of our time.
Yeah, it did. It ruined an entire franchise. To be fair,
backflipping Terminators.
If Gabriel is not backflipping, I'll be upset. Now the next one here is
garbage,
the
D-tier idiot plan from start to finish.
The next one here is essentially the Magnus's Folly / Webway getting ruined. Webway War.
This project was doomed to failure from the start. It like the tragedy is that the Emperor thought it would work to begin with.
Just to recount the events, essentially, the Emperor's grand plan is essentially make the Imperium unite all of mankind and then shift it into the webway so chaos can't touch us. And so he needs to have he has an opening of the webway beneath Terra, and basically he's put wards in place guarding it from like chaos entry. Demons can't get in, but Magnus can with the help of a a disguised warp entity. Magnus breaks.
He's legit. It's just some guy in the webway. He's sort of proximity in the warp. I'm sure I can trust this guy.
Magnus breaks the wards, and as soon as he arrives in the throne room, like his spirit does, he basically turns around and goes, "What's that noise?" And just hears like a horde of like demons like laughing and running. You're like, "Oh crap!" And essentially, the custodians for the entire Siege of Terror, because of the plot point they needed to be, and the Sisters of Silence, they basically fight a losing battle against demons in like a lost. The webway tunnel was like a lost Eldar ancient city in the webway, and most of the I think it's like 90% of the custodians die in this webway war. Like they slowly bleed them completely dry. They go from like the 10,000
like 6 years long or something crazy.
They go from like the 10,000 host to the 1,000 host, and despite people say, oh, like there's a recent thing like, oh, the King in Yellow is using like psychers and blanks to like seal the webway or whatever. The Sisters of Silence are blanks, and they were in the webway, and they still had demon problems, so it's not really a thing. But essentially, and then even some Imperial defenders like the Mechanicus as well, like are shunted in there. The Emperor gets stabbed by a demon. That doesn't go poorly. That goes pretty poorly.
It will one day become Abaddon's sword.
The ultimate tragedy is that basically they have to sacrifice 1,000 souls to the Emperor, to then the Emperor eventually goes, all right, we'll push them back a little bit, and then he just seals the webway. So now that plan to save humanity from being influenced by chaos completely dies.
Oh, but Magnus did nothing wrong. Magnus did nothing wrong, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to explain why it was an awful plan to begin with, right? First of all, webway is like between the warp and real space. It regularly gets like invaded by demons on a good day because like, the fall of the Elder and everything, and just 65 million years of degradation on top of it. Already not the best place to be. Second of all, there's the last meaningful Eldar god is hiding inside of it. So, there's a bit of a problem you have to deal with.
It's cramped in there.
it's cramped, and Kamara is also just hanging out in there. Good luck with that one, Ems. And of course, the Eldar, like, it doesn't hide. Like, humanity is slowly awakening into a psychic race. The Dark Eldar like atrophied their psychic senses, because otherwise Slaanesh will just find them in the webway and eat them. And the Emperor, knowing mankind is becoming a psychic race, was like, "Oh, you hide them in the webway," ignoring the fact that the race
He's got
of
the
psychic
same voice as Logan Grimnar.
He does.
Oh
He
my
does.
god.
It's crazy. It's like ignoring the fact like the psychic race had to give up being a psychic race if they were going to hide in the webway, because otherwise chaos would just show up. And sure enough, that happens despite the Dark Eldar getting rid of their psychic powers. Kane's Gate breaks, and demons are all over Kamara. Like, it was a plan. The tragedy is that he thought it would ever work to begin with. It was a tragedy in the making, no matter what way you look at it.
It sounds more like a GW author skill issue at this
Probably,
point.
but it's also it's the lore.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like if it had gone to plan, Big E would just be like golden lightning bolts and be like, get wrecked, bozos, whenever anyone tries to like.
Yeah,
Like with all the legions and all the custodians and the Imperium and the Mechanicus, he'd be fine. But as it stands,
but also would be like all of humanity is now confined to the webway. Like if anything goes wrong, it's like the demons have just like you break into souls, like it's like demons show up on a planet, right? Sucks for that planet, but they're only on that planet. They will either
but then
dissipate.
Again, if for example one day, barring the Forest, the Tyranids invaded one day, they'd be safe from them because they'd be like, we're in the webway, they're not going to get us. It's fine. Orcs and Tyranids and Necrons outside the webway, they can do what they like.
They'd be safe because they'd all be dead by demons, because the demons show up. They don't need to like do any more rituals. Just flood into that breach, and every breach in the webway is another infinity you need to hold off. When it happens in the real space, it's like, this sucks for that planet.
I mean, the Grey Knights were a rush job outside the Imperium after the end of the war. I'm sure Big E could have figured out, like, let's make the Uber knights or whatever they'd be called, and they just kill demons. If it
There's
was
so-
without any problems.
He kind of once that plan dies, the Emperor basically goes, "I've got he almost like we have to like hold on until basically the inevitable fall now. Like that's the end." There's also one.
Guess I'll die now.
Potentially, but there's also one more consequence, which was that like Malcador says, like he confesses something. He says, "Me and the Emperor, we realized when we initiated the Great Crusade, like all the billions of people who were probably going to die during it, because of basically them homogenifying humanity into like, you know, you're that, you can't be
You're
too
the
divergent."
Imperium. Yeah.
Yeah. They basically said we were willing to kill all those people for this eventual plan that would somewhat they call it the saving the species. But then when the heresy starts, Malcador basically goes, the bit we actually feel guilty for is the heresy part, because the deaths after that are the ones we didn't account for. Like that wasn't meant to happen. So therefore he says basically all those people up till now have died for nothing.
Basically,
there's-
the Emperor's
yeah,
big
so it's like-
gentrification project for the galaxy didn't go according to plan. No Starbucks on every.
Because he never would have done the
Yes.
Great Crusade if they
There's
didn't think
just-
this plan was going to work. So
just
that's just
so
how
many-
bad this plan is.
There's so many things that need to go right for the webway to not collapse in on the Emperor's feet. So many different things need to go perfectly. And if anything goes wrong, the whole thing is fucked.
Oh,
the
he
also-
Emperor is a doer.
He does say as well, like he says, if there's
Gets
one
fucked up.
human not brought in the webway, the plan fails. And I think
Really?
what's the custody who says
What?
like, isn't that crazy? And the custody goes, and he says to the custody, yes, it's hubris, but he says, when I see the future, there's only this. It's like the Avengers Endgame thing of like, you know, this is like the one victory plan where he thinks they can win.
Yeah.
This is like bugging Colin so
Also,
much. I can
also
tell.
that is so unbelievably full of shit. The Eldar alone have like 50 different ways to deal with chaos. They kept the eastern half of the galaxy clean, Iandin and Bieltan, alone for like 6,000 years straight. The Necrons show up and are just like, I'm going to turn off the Eye of Terror. Just no more. It's good. It's gone. Like there are so many ways to deal with chaos that don't involve hurting every human being into a tunnel.
So,
They was like-
where,
They
where would
had
you
a lot of
put this
time
on the
to
list,
figure that
though?
out. Humanity's
How
pretty
tragic is this plan in terms of how poor it's executed as well? How
Top
poorly
of
it's
D
executed.
tier because you know it's better than the it is a tragedy, and it strikes more feeling into me than the fucking Abyssal Crusade. But it's just like I hate that that's like was
So
the
bottom of
plan to
we put
save
it at the bottom of,
humanity.
oh, there we go. But that is, I think though, in terms of tragedy, we might have to do a fantasy one, Colin, because I honestly, this was actually quite a lot of fun. They've done I think we've done quite a good job though.
a lot of lore in this tier list.
Yeah, Boingob though.
Dude, most tragic.
We do have one more list if people. It depends if everyone here has time for that as well. If they want to go, we can go through it quicker if you want though. This one's a bit of a different vibe. Does anyone want to explain what we're going to be doing?
Can I just double down on something I saw in chat?
Oh, go ahead.
Digman88. The Emperor gets rid of the navigators. Chaos proceeds to break the webway. Humanity has a second long night. Like there is no happy ending with the webway project. It requires everything to be perfect for infinity.
Do you know what my favorite part about this as well, Colin?
What?
The Chaos Gods wouldn't have. The only reason this all happened is because the Emperor's a threat to chaos. And so that's the whole like thing that sets it in motion. If the Emperor didn't have a plan to do the webway / save humanity from being interfered with by the warp, the Chaos Gods would have never done the Horus Heresy. Yeah, so literally, like, it's all his fault. It's literally no wonder Eli hates the Emperor so much sometimes. God, it is all his fault, unfortunately. Does anyone want to explain what the next quick tier list we're going to be doing? It's not as extensive as the last one.
This is where children become adults. This is where real warriors are made. The Star Wars Battlefront 2, original Battlefront 2 map tier list.
Yeah,
I would like to just start us off strong and make a second tier, make an extra tier that just says space battles, like right below us. They're all kind of the same thing, really, but the space battles are so good in that game.
Yeah.
What?
I don't know if they're all like, I was in like their own category. If you want to put them in one tier,
I mean, just put them like the space battles and space fighting in that game is great. They're just all pretty much the same thing.
The question is though, do you Are you a guy who goes out and does the dogfights, or are you the guy who's basically using a transport and just going into the ship to sabotage?
I do both.
Yeah, me too.
Depends on how I'm feeling. Put those in A. Give them the respect they deserve.
Well, what was Space Yavin at least? Come on.
They're all the same thing.
Dogfighting's the most fun, but like if you're playing PvP, then you have to basically go and blow up the enemy's ship stuff.
Yeah, or you can just sit in your own ship from when they do it to you.
The question is though, what do you guys target first when you were doing it back in the day? Because I would often go. I mean, everyone just does engines, right?
I go for the 2 frigates first.
Because you can usually hide in the engines, can't you? You can hide in the engine room at least a little bit.
If you get like you and a couple other people, and it's like you just sit there and form a wall in their engine room.
I have a confession to make. I only ever played the first Battlefront. I never had the money to get the second one. And it never went down in price because it was so good, apparently.
Dang. It's on Steam, Andy. I guess you don't have a PC.
I can't play it.
A lot of these, there's some maps here I think which are reminiscent of the first game ones. To be fair, though, I remember playing it. This is I think it was the original Xbox I played the first Battlefront on. For people who are in the chat probably thinking they've never even seen one of those. So that's how long ago it was. The first one up here, though, I do believe is Coruscant.
S tier for sure.
No.
S tier for sure. It's such a cool map. And if you play CIS, you can be Darth Maul. It's awesome. And it's got the library and the campaign bits in this.
I'm thinking of the campaign particularly.
Because if we're including campaign, then Coruscant has got to be S tier. It's the only map like you fight Jedi as the clones.
And you have to sabotage the libraries as well.
Yeah, are we including the campaign or just like the maps and like
both? I could be both in that because that
then Coruscant has to be S tier.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
I'm trying to remember it in my head because the Jedi you can. Or then, like the hero character is Anakin, right?
Yeah, it's Anakin because it's Order
66.
I think in skirmish mode it's Mace Windu though.
Yeah, Mace Windu and Darth Maul.
I still love the Mace. Does anyone else do that thing where you just hop as high as you can as Mace Windu, and then just do like a
dom? Holy cow! Crimson Glory,
brother.
Bless your soul, Crimson Glory.
Thank you,
$50. Thank you very much. Love y'all. Wish these were longer, but I'll show up when I can. Also, every map is S tier because the game itself has ascended past S tier. Very true.
Big true.
My nostalgia goals are.
This is a tier list within
this one.
This is a tier list within everything already being S tier.
Yeah.
Could you imagine remaking this?
We've got to be really stingent with what we're doing though, because I think.
We'll be fair to them. It's just all of these like every letter has an S in front of it.
Dagobah though. Dagobah, if I remember correctly, there's like a small bit where you can kind of go in some tunnels.
Yeah,
there is. There's a little
Darth
tunnel.
Vader breathing.
Yeah,
but I don't remember playing. I didn't really play this one too much though.
It's meh.
Do you?
It's kind of.
You guys play Battlefield 3? You know Metro, that map where it's just. Never heard of it?
It's not. I don't really play Battlefield.
It's this map. It's just like like an underground metro station. And in the middle of the map is
Twain.
The death zone where it's both teams of 64 people run through. It's like Normandy Beach if both sides were the attackers. Dagobah is like that, except it's not as fun.
Yeah, I put a B tier.
I don't think there's like really any vehicles.
I really played it in like skirmish or something like that.
It's worse Felucia.
I feel like. Appealing. Why
it's Felucia but worse.
You can play Yoda, Darth Vader. I don't feel like strongly about it. Now,
I also just never enjoy playing the Rebels
sequel
or Empire way more than like playing the Clone Wars stuff is way cooler. I feel like.
Now, personally. Death Star. I've enjoyed this one so much.
I think
this is S tier.
Least favorite, bro. I don't know.
No, because the death corridor on the right hand. Like on the.
And I played with my brother-in-laws the other day, and we were losing.
We should stream this. We should 100% stream this as our next game.
Yeah, and then I got Luke Skywalker, and I just went down the freaking prison corridor and killed like 50 dudes in 5 seconds because all the AI just like bunch up in the.
Yeah, it's great.
Place, right? It's funny.
Grenade corridor.
It is funny, but it's also it's such a maze of a map. Though, if you get lost, you're just screwed.
Because you can also sabotage the people like charges or like grenades on the door controls on the bit near the laser as well, so you can drop people. It
is funny to watch your friends fall off as well on that one command post.
And then there's like that one idiot who gets like the hero character and then immediately like just starts zooming past everyone down. Like you get past the grenades and like the munitions in that initial like corridor part, and you can basically just lightsaber the entire team.
Yeah. It's not S tier for me, but I'm not gonna fight.
I had so much fun on that one.
I'd be okay if it was bumped down to A tier, but it can't be any lower than that.
Fair.
I'll give
Above A, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Endor S tier. There's no discussion. Come on.
Wicket?
Ewoks.
Wicket in it?
You get to shoot Ewoks.
Yeah, true. It is.
Ewoks.
And you get the cool scout trooper. So.
And the Ewoks in this one are way better than the Ewoks in the first game, which had like the Ewoks in the first game were you were useless. You were basically cannon fodder, whereas this one you can actually fight back. And if you play it with your mates, you basically be a gang of Ewoks. You can basically bully someone pretty hard.
Can we can we give Felucia a tier above S and just call it hell?
Above S? Why above S?
I actually
you got the fog, and you have the tree that wasn't like made correctly, so you have to jump up it if you want to get up, pretty much.
There's also I looked at they're all like called like Aklax or something, the big spider monsters. It's like oh good, I'm not even fighting the enemy here. I'm in pain, but I love that map so much.
Is it Alia Secura? The
Ayla Secura. I think it's versus Grievous, but I'm not 100% sure.
God, to be fair, there is some fun. You know, you get past like the initial heartbreak or the annoying bit at the beginning, and then you can kind of jump around and destroy those turrets.
Yeah,
that bit's a bit more fun, but honestly, I respect that map, but I hate it. If you know what I mean, I love it, but I hate it at the same time.
Felucia will put some fucking hair on your chest.
Geonosis.
Geonosis goes in hell tier, surely.
This one is actually worse than
is awesome.
There's no cover, and there's freaking the Geonosians are flying around everywhere. Like, you die in like 5 seconds unless you're in like the little building just being a sniper. It's fun, but it's definitely hell. I think it's
fair. Loads of again the ATTE.
Original clone.
Skins. Yeah, I think it's the only map in the game with that.
Original clone skins.
Camino might actually.
You also get loads of vehicles on CISI, which is fun.
Yeah,
but the map is what I actually think it's worse than the original one because you had like to destroy those silos in the first game.
Yeah,
if you remember that.
Yeah,
so that was more enjoyable. Definitely B tier though. Hoth now. Hoth.
S tier.
Oh yes, S tier. Yeah.
No, S tier, not hell tier.
Is anyone else?
Although if you're the rebels, it is a tough battle.
It's fun stuff though. You can do the spinny thing, with like the speeders. It's so cool.
Me and my brother got around the walker 3 or 4 times with the spinny thing, and it still didn't go down. We were so sad.
Pain. I've only done it like 10 times, which sounds like a decent amount because I would play this game every single day with my friends after school when I was a kid. So it's not that much really.
Yeah, but it's hard. Guys, the trick is you'll have to be the second pilot. The AI has to be the first pilot because then you just hit the tripwire, and then it will do the circling for you. And then one time it will just end up. It'll fly straight into the head of the AT-AT because it doesn't care. But then you can also do
the AT&T.
No, AT-AT. AT-AT.
Yes,
I do remember it was great Rogue Squadron 1 and 2, and you have the obligatory Hoth level. You're just like, I'm gonna go around in circles.
It's so fun.
It is fun. Oh, this is hell. This surely Jabba's palace is hell. It's dark. The freaking pig guards one-shot you.
My favorite.
You fall to the Rancor.
You fall into the Rancor pit. Yeah, half your clone army falls into the Rancor pit, and then you just have to stand in the stairway where all the droids come up and kill 50 of them per grenade, pretty much. It's just,
I'm sorry.
It's terrible.
Who put in the chat my favorite VTuber is Vsauce? That's not a VTuber. Hi guys, Michael here.
Technically, he's V.
He's
Michael.
He's on YouTube. Yeah.
Jabba's palace.
Funny.
Does anyone else get killed by those the Tusk, like the guard?
Yeah, the Gamorrean.
They one shot you. And if you get the hero, and then you still get one shot by the guards. You're freaking Darth Maul going through the halls and poof, like
guys,
out of nowhere.
We need to stream this game so bad.
Luke gets taken out by a fucking pig.
Also, oh man, I don't know how many times was that one bit as well. Like there's like a square like staircase part, and it's just grenade hell.
Yeah,
You
that's what I was
actually can't
saying.
get
You
up
kill,
it.
yeah, you kill 50 droids per grenade on that stupid
What is
staircase.
this, Call of Duty?
Because the rest of your clone army has fallen into the Rancor pit and it's just like standing there. So it's like
Shame you can't kill
You get the
Rancor.
true experience of holding the line.
Yeah.
Next one is
Camino.
Camino is
Camino.
S tier. I love
Yes.
this map. It's so beautiful too.
Also, to be fair, campaign playing it
Yeah, campaign's
as
the best.
One down the
Boba
clone.
Fett.
Oh yeah.
So you play as like the Imperials versus the clone troopers, and Boba Fett is
Mhm.
with the jetpack on. I mean, any jetpack on that map is amazing. And I maybe one time went a bit too hard on. We're playing like with some friends. Friends. I was playing like friends of friends, and then I went a bit too like ham on that map, and they're like, "All right, chill, bro." I was like, "Okay, sorry."
Nice. Oh
a bit
man,
too hard.
a lot of it is just sniper spamming all the turrets. The turrets are
I'm just
pretty
gonna-
annoying on it, but other than that, it is really cool.
God,
And-
it really is. Everything here is just
I
S
want
tier
to put
because
hell at the bottom because otherwise I'm going to put it in S tier again.
yeah,
Felucia's. I
Felucia
love
is, yeah,
Fine.
Felucia's double.
yeah.
Kashyyyk is D-Day. It's definitely S tier.
That's S tier.
I still have memories of like me and my buddy were like the last 2 clones out of I don't know like 10 because you can't go down to 1 because then your AI will die. And we were being pushed back by the droids, and there was like 50 droids left, and we were inside of the Wookiee base. And then out of nowhere, like 20 Wookiees just show up and kill all the droids for us, and it was like our biggest win ever. We were like 10 years old. It was such a prime memory.
The
The
campaign
teddy
as
bears
well.
are coming. They're going to save us.
The campaign defense on that is it goes so
It's
hard
very
as well
cool.
because you also have access to, like what's like the land speeder type thing, like the little hover.
I don't remember what it's called, but I know what
yeah.
you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that one because you get like a sacrificial lamb up in that top turret, and you can basically hold the line as long as you want for that, and then obviously when you're defending it against like the unlimited AI, like the CIS invasion, that one is so much fun if you manage to like just
Very cool.
live towards the end because you can basically be Yoda.
Mos Eisley is
Mos
top
Eisley.
of S tier. It's got the hero versus hero
Yeah,
mode.
heroes.
Yeah, and it's got the toilet
You'll
bowl
never
and
find.
stuff.
I'm always
What's
doing
everyone's
fine.
hero
Yeah.
choice though? What's everyone's hero choice?
Darth Maul every time.
Why has no one said Chewbacca with the homing missile yet?
Oh my
Because no one, man, I
gosh.
never like get kills with it. But it was so much fun because you sit in
It's
the
just
corner.
fun to use.
Oh,
Launch it up and like,
It's
where
so
am I going?
hard to control as well.
I'm not a big fan of Mos Eisley as just instant action like regular.
Yeah,
It's
though.
just the heroes versus villain mode is carrying it because it's the only map
Yeah.
you can play it on, but it is so fun because of that.
Yeah. And you
Honestly,
get
it's- God.
You have a like Star Wars character bar fight in that bar room.
Yeah, it's like this little backwater town where nothing happens. Like, what is all these heroes doing here?
Oh,
This
I
doesn't
remember-
make sense.
I
in the
just-
canon.
if you let it roll out, isn't it? The heroes end up winning, but
Yeah, I think it like if you're not playing as the villains, the heroes are pretty much guaranteed to win.
Does everyone else do that thing where I'm sure everyone did it, but there's that little like it's next to, like the redoubt, like rounded area, like round donut in the middle.
Yeah, the toilet
And-
bowl.
No, but then, and then there's that little like broken ship, like the spike
Oh
at
yeah.
the top of the map. Does everyone else just go to that top position and Mace Win do it? You know what I mean? just try and get one like.
I would do it as
slam kill.
Boba Fett and just shoot down like an asshole.
It's fun playing as Han Solo as well. To be fair, on that one,
Yeah.
just because like all this Jedi around, you're like, Jesus, my
I have a gun.
yeah. That's why mine's coming.
Mustafar is pretty cool. It's not my favorite, but it's pretty cool.
I give it A or B.
Yeah,
Instant
it's
action
better than
is-
Geonosis. I like it more.
Yeah,
than
if playing it in
Geonosis.
instant action is
Cool.
not actually that fun, but doing the campaign of that though was like you know the actual like the push in to fight.
Yeah.
That one's actually quite a lot of fun. And,
I will give Geonosis some credit because it's one of the only maps that is like challenging to win on. Because playing Star Wars Battlefront as an adult, it is definitely way too easy if you're on the like slightly winning
Defenders.
side, right? Or even on the other side. But Geonosis you can actually lose on because there's no cover at all ever.
He will not let this
See,
point die.
and you have to go across that like massive open bridge at one point.
Yeah.
It's just
Or you can just spawn on the big vehicle, the AT whatever, and just
Yeah, the ATGE and just get in there and just pop
on a
shots
second.
off.
I know like a fair bit of Star Wars. What the hell is a Magneto?
That's the planet where
Yo.
Forehead Man gets
Yeah,
obliterated.
that's your first
Sky
campaign mission,
Mundi.
yeah, first campaign mission
Yeah.
where you
which is a fun mission.
teach you how to play the
It is.
game.
Mojito.
I like the map.
Like
a fair bit.
mojito.
It's a nice map, but honestly, I don't.
It's also where Delta
play it that
Squad
much.
robs a bank.
It also has the bridge. The bridge is a really fun place to be fighting.
Oh, the place. Oh, that's where you get shot down. I see.
I don't really
Fine.
play it that much, to be fair. That map, just because it doesn't come up as much in instant action or anything like that.
Sorry.
It's
Naboo.
causing an opening though.
Naboo.
Naboo.
I can hear the guy's voice saying
I
it
don't-
every time.
This is gonna be my only D tier. I'm not a fan of Naboo.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you know what it does? It's basically just two corridor map, and you basically have to meet. It's just a square, isn't it?
The thing, like, it's a corridor, but there's also so many different corners that when it's down to the last few enemies, you're hunting the entire map looking for the
Yeah.
one battle droid whose AI is bugging out and he's sitting in a corner capturing a command post he
I'll
already
put it
owns.
above Dagobah though, because there's that mission where you have to assassinate the new Queen of Naboo, and she's guarded by
Yeah,
Jedi.
it's a pretty cool one. I do like that.
Yeah.
Crimson
fun.
Glory for $5. Thank you.
Thank you,
He
Crimson
says,
Glory. Thank you.
Geonosis is Starship Troopers in Star Wars. It's very true.
Oh, Police Massa. This is the asteroid
I
one.
really like this
Police
one.
Master? What?
But if you playing against your friends, and if you don't get to that one choke point first, then you're just doomed.
Or if
if
you
you know
can,
what I
you
mean.
can back
It
cap
has-
it as well,
I-
can't you?
It has like the
You
table
go outside
in it
and
or whatever.
suffocate.
Yeah,
I was not a fan of that.
Unless you're a droid, isn't it? Droids don't suffocate.
yeah.
I think
droids
they do
don't.
too.
No, you're
What?
right. Well, no, I don't remember, but
I can't.
you
I
get to
think
beat Darth Maul
humans
if you
do.
play on the CIS and.
I don't know because
clones.
something doesn't suffocate.
I'm gonna.
Well,
I
the
think
droids
it might
just-
actually
the
be
droids
droids,
just take
Wouldn't
tick
think droids had
damage.
Maybe you're right.
lungs. It wouldn't
Maybe
think
the
They
droids
all
take
like just
tick.
take damage.
Yeah.
I think.
but
you
I don't
can't
think
get
you
Oh
it
get
no! Apparently the droids can survive. I don't.
Yeah.
I guess I
Hey,
just never
mate,
played
my
droids
knowledge.
on this map.
My memory.
It is a fun map, and I really like how it looks. I put it in A tier personally.
That one's quite.
Yeah.
There are like because there are avenues to flank in that one, and there's also you can literally grab a vehicle in your like home base.
Mhm.
So instead of spawning like up front, you can spawn at your back, and then you can go outside in space on the asteroid, and then go back cap the enemy
Okay.
spot, so you can fly.
Also, one of the command posts is on top of the table Padme gave birth and then died on, which is funny.
it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Oh man,
Do you
It's
get the
wet. Anyway.
Is it?
Time
Dude,
Fancy
S tier.
four.
Come on.
This one is so. It's just too iconic.
it is cool. This is
It
an easy
is
one to get
also-
lost on.
Imagine
Yeah,
if
no,
every
no.
hallway was grenade
Yeah.
hallway.
Unfortunately, you had to play as Princess Leia as the
Oh.
Imperial one, but it's just so. I mean, it's just so much fun that one as well
Mhm.
because you inevitably die more times on that map than any other.
Yeah.
but then if
you
you
turn a corner and you get jumped.
but then if you're playing as Darth Vader on that map, it does you kind
Yeah.
of it hits different, doesn't it? You kind of just slow walk it and then
Mhm.
immediately die to grenades. But you know, it's fine.
Oh,
Crimson, is that Crimson Glory? Oh, no, that's no one.
We
So,
covered it.
Also, what's this disrespect to Princess Leia? Princess Leia is awesome.
No, but as a character
In the
you
game,
play
though,
her-
yeah,
yeah,
she's
her
not
gun
that
is.
fun.
She's not a force user in the game, so it's like,
yeah,
well,
pretty
I'm
much.
I'm at a disadvantage.
Not a force
not-
user and no jetpack, so
It's not quite Force Unleashed 2
Nice.
DLC.
I met Carrie Fish as well. Nice
Mm.
lady. Met her dog.
Star Killer could body a chaos guy.
Udapow.
Usurper.
I love this one.
I'm not
General
as big a
Grievous, bro.
fan of this map. I like the campaign mission, but as in like playing instant action on it, because whoever's up top had that like overarching fire, and you're kind of screwed.
It's not doing anything.
Although you do get if you're a defender, you get cool you get your vehicles at least.
Yeah, and fighting on that slanted part on the off
Oh,
the
you have to
side
make
is
your way
pretty
down
fun.
it as well. And
Or fighting in the hangar is really cool. I like Udapow a lot. I think
know.
A tier is fine.
Yeah.
Yavin
Yavin
4.
It's decent. It's cool.
I've
B.
not had as much fun with this one.
Yeah. Sometimes you go on the like ruins thing and then it's just a dead end and there's nothing at the end and you just
Yeah.
jump off and die and it's like
Every time I play Yavin 4, I get into those big tower turrets and I think I'm gonna have fun. These are gonna be useful, and then they never are.
You know why I don't want to put Yavin 4 in C tier? Because of this one simple fact, which is when you're the rebels and you get, I think it's rebels as well, or is it the Imperials? You get the speeder, the little speeder
Oh
bike.
yeah.
But because the map is so poorly designed for the speeder bike, you basically you run full power and you'll never hit like a staircase, a tree, or something like that. So you can't fully use the best part of that map.
It's like Endor if it was actually how those bikes would work.
Yeah. So that's the only reason like it actually
Yeah.
upsets me. Also, there's like small towers in it where you
Yeah.
basically you enter it and it's like it's a light post. It's like a lamp post essentially. and it's basically, and if you play it, inevitably, like the last person you're trying to find is like just stuck in that tower, and the rest of your team's like would run around like a headless chicken. So
I'm just saying, Felucia's the best map of the game.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
can't.
I can agree
It's
with that.
hell, but it's fun hell.
It's
I
so
honestly,
awesome.
I had more fun with Hoth.
Cock and
I think
ball.
I
Look,
enjoy Hoth.
if your cortisol levels are low, you don't have enough stress hormones in your life, just play Felucia.
Yeah. It's a good
God,
time.
we have to stream at this at least once,
Mhm.
guys.
We
should
gotta
do
do
that.
we gotta do like a 3v1 on Hoth, and the one person is in the AT-AT.
Don't
and the
forget,
other
there's
3 are
also
rebels.
the what is it, the
Yeah, the
Wampa hunt mode.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
That is hell tier.
Bro, are you telling me you didn't win as the Wampas?
Yeah, of course I won as the Wampas. They have like 500 health and one shot everybody.
Because you have to.
It's ridiculous.
The only way to do it is actually use the turrets, isn't it? You have to use
Yeah.
the turrets.
Oh,
Yeah, you
there
gotta have
is.
people.
I
It's
discovered
fun though.
there was like Xbox exclusive thing recently that they updated it with. You can get Kiadi Mundi and Asajj Ventress
Oh
in the
yeah,
game.
because
And then and then they added another hell tier map where you just get lost in tunnels for 20 minutes.
God,
I found this
I
out
missed
like
that game
a
so
week ago.
much.
Yeah,
I played this. How many times have you guys done the campaign?
many.
I
many
don't-
times. Yeah, and
I
many
think I
galactic
must have done it like
Oh,
three or
it-
like only a couple of years ago. I had like another go at it because it's not like that long, really.
it adds the mods or not the maps. Fuck. Let's see. Yavin 4 Arena, Bespin, Cloud City,
City.
which was in the first Battlefront one. I
Yeah.
remember it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they didn't
Mhm.
have that.
Renvar Harbor and Renvar Citadel. I'm drawing a blank on what
yeah, I
Renvar is.
I think the Citadel one is the one where you just are in ice tunnels for most of it.
Oh God, Renvar was from. Oh my God, man, I didn't want to think about this place.
You know which one
Hmm.
you're talking about. God, I do
Yeah.
miss that game though.
It's so good, dude. One of the best games ever made for sure. It would be nice to stream. We have to figure out how to host our own server though. That's the biggest.
Because then we can
issue.
get, if people want to
Yeah.
join us, we'll have to.
I'd love to play it at some point, but I only played the first one. I love
any
the first
any
one, but it didn't
PC
have
could
the
play this
heroes.
game, by the way.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
You
true.
need
You
to
can
keep
put your
your
own
segue.
Any PC could play that game though. Like,
If your computer can turn on, you can play Battlefront 2.
God, it's a good game though. I would say Death Star is still my favorite. Just through. It's not the best map, but in terms of experience I've had in it,
I'm on the opposite spectrum of Eli. I love the maps that are just unfortunate. I'm having a
you
miserable.
just stand at the end of that
just-
corridor and just throw lightsaber continuously.
It
That's
doesn't
how
make
I
sense.
play it.
Colin loves Morathi, and he loves a bit of cock and ball torture.
Oh,
It
I
is
think
what it is,
Coruscant's probably my favorite map. Actually, I really like Coruscant.
dude.
I really struggled with.
I love the death hallways.
Because when you're playing like Anakin on that one, I really struggled with it's the what's the clone trooper who has like the purple, the burgundy
command guy.
command.
Oh, so where he's got like the
minigun?
hood,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
fabric.
those,
Yeah,
because like, he has the autocannon as well.
Yeah.
Like those ones are so annoying because even if you're like jumping as a Jedi, they like track you. So I hate those.
skill issue.
It has something
was
for
at the
everyone though.
time.
It has,
Learn to deflect.
it has a death hallway. It has a small room, and it has a big opening place with cover. So it's
We need
kinda,
to- we
it's
have-
nice.
we should do-
Cover.
He loves his cover. He is a
Love me
warhammer
cover.
through and through.
Go play Gears of War. We're dying to feel like a real clone.
I
Ugh.
think though, unless anyone else wants to add anything, that we managed to cover a lot. To be fair, on this tier, I think we were running out.
Yeah, it was
I believe my final statement is I wish EA didn't kill the new Battlefront 2 after they finally made
Yeah.
it good.
Oh man,
They
How
finally
did
made
miss
it good and then they shot it.
But would it really be so difficult for them to remaster Battlefront 1 and 2 with nice graphics and not touch the gameplay?
Probably
People
not.
would buy
All they had to do was
drones.
make the same game too, and then everyone would have
literally
bought
just
it.
copy paste the code and just touch up the
Mhm.
models and make them look nice. It's like, yeah, people
all
would
they
buy
had
it
to do.
a million times.
People-
But they
the-
want microtransactions.
I finally
Shout
love
out.
both Battlefront 2s, and then they just refused to do that the first time, where they're just like, "Here's the same thing, but it looks
Yeah.
nicer." And then they killed the second one after they made it good.
Yeah.
Shout out to the mod community though,
Yeah,
who keep
God, that made me
stuff like
so
that.
fucking angry. They added Republic Commandos to the
Could you
second.
imagine like a 40k style Battlefront game or Battlefield? Yeah,
It would.
Battlefield.
Rip Eternal
Look,
Crusade.
And you could have heroes
Crusade.
like Gilliman and
would say, like,
Vulcan
I've
and
talked to people about it before, and like it would be very fun, but you could not have every faction. Or if you did, it'd have to be in a limited capacity. Like I think the best way out would be like Tau versus Guard. That'd be a lot of fun.
Or even have like a 40k Horus Heresy inspired one. We could have Traitor Primarchs. You could have Loyalist Primarchs. You could have like Mechanicus faction stuff. You could just have the human stuff, and then it wouldn't be too much. I feel like
even with that though, like the dude playing as a guardsman versus the dude playing as a space marine.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I assume it'd be like like you know how Titanfall had pilots and then it had like NPC soldiers. I feel like the guardsmen would just be AI and you'd play as space marines.
Yeah, that'd be cool actually.
That'd be cool.
I feel like Space Marine 2 will be so
some of it else, like part of Battlefield though is like you're a grunt just in this giant massive battle. So
it's literally instead of Primarchs jumping in, it's just like, oh my god, Kato Sicarius, I've heard of him.
Yeah, like
you crunk.
You do it like battle like the second Battlefront 2 or the first one, and eventually like you can be a space marine or a special character after.
Imagine a Fall of Cadia map. Oh,
nice.
That'd be fun.
Before we finish out, I want to get it in. One of the tier lists we need to do is Republic Commandos map, or like level tier list.
For the level.
No,
except for the last one. F tier.
Because if anyone has anyone here played Republic Commandos,
I have not had the pleasure yet.
Made a video about it.
I played it when it came out. That's how old I feel now.
Yeah,
that game is core memory.
Core memory right there. With that being said, though, that was the tragedies of the Warhammer 40k universe. But I think maybe we might do a fantasy one here, just because there's a lot. We've got some grieving. We've got some therapy to get through. So we'll go over that.
DJ Beast, yes.
ERB, is it ERB?
Look, fellas, I'm on Lorecrimes, and I can't even get the tier list that I want. You guys think you're gonna get the tier list you want?
Oh dear.
I think with that being said, though,
we will at some point.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll catch you guys next week. Hopefully, we'll let you know what we're cooking up. We've got something cool. Meth. All right, see ya.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.